Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call this April meeting of the Quorum Court to order and welcome everyone in attendance. It's certainly wonderful to see such a good crowd tonight. I want to thank all of you for taking your time and giving of yourselves to be able to come to this. So thank you very much. The next thing we have on the agenda is the prayer and the pledge is going to be handled by J.P. Madison. Sue Madison. Sue.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I'm very pleased to announce that First United Presbyterian Church is excited about 2 new co-ministers for youth and young adults. And Brianne Christensen is here tonight to lead us in prayer. Please welcome Brianne. Thank you.
Let's pray together. Dear Lord, ultimate judge of the universe, we thank you for giving us leadership here on earth. Grant us wisdom as we carry out to bring restoration to your kingdom. Be here, present tonight. In your name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Madison. Next thing we have is the roll call. Carly, would you please call the roll?
Daniel Walls. Harvey Bowman. Here. Britt Cochran. Here. Robert Dennis.
Here.
Lisa Ecke. Here. Ann Harbison. Here. Sharon Lloyd. Here. Tom Lundstrom.
Here.
Eva Madison. Here. Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell. Here. Gary McHenry. Here. Joe Patterson. Here. Butch Pond. Here. Bill Ussery. Here.
Quorum present. I'd just like to say also it's good to have everybody that's been ailing back on the circle, so welcome back, fellas. Next thing we have is adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
I want to put the agendas number 22 and other business. I think we've got a couple here. Let's see what have we got. Okay, I have a motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. I also want to point out that agenda number 22, other business, was erroneously left off of the agenda that was mailed out last week, but it has been sent, it's been added, and it's included in your printed copies. Do I have a motion to make that correction? So, are we okay? Okay, we're okay. Okay, fine. Thank you. Next thing we have is approval of the minutes. The minutes of the Quorum Court meeting for January to February, January the 14th, 21st, and February the 18th has been distributed. Are there any corrections to be made? Yes,
we just got these this afternoon, so I hadn't had a chance to look at them. They just came to us sometime. I think I looked at the email and saw it sometime around 5 o'clock. So,
Karen, do you know did they just get their minutes?
I believe Carly just sent out a set that was corrected, but they received them last week.
I think it was a draft that
One of the ones were actually a draft, and then
Okay.
she did send the corrected one. I forget which month.
February 18th
The
was
February 18th one.
draft.
Well, whatever I got today, I've not had time to review, so I'm not prepared to vote on
Do you want to make a motion to
anything.
table it?
Yes. So moved.
I have a motion to table, and I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Was that only for that one set of minutes or for all of them?
All.
Okay.
All, yeah. The next thing we have is a resolution that's going to be, is Daniel Balls. Yes, J.P. Madison.
Yes, J.P. Balls could not be here tonight, so he asked me to handle 6.1. So, Mr. Zega, if you would please read it.
A resolution authorizing Blake Pennington to solemnize the marriage of Benjamin Tyler Lynch and Rhonda Marie Salzman on May 21st, 2016 in Washington County, Arkansas. Whereas, pursuant to Arkansas Code Annotated 9-11-213, the Quorum Court has the authority to appoint a person to solemnize a marriage, and whereas a request for such has been made as set out above, now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas. Article 1. Blake Pennington is authorized to solemnize the marriage of Benjamin Tyler Lynch and Rhonda Marie Salzman on May 21st, 2016 in Washington County, Arkansas.
Thank you, Mr. Zega. I know that Mr. Pennington is here, and I think the couple's here. I don't know the couple, but I know Mr. Pennington well, and so I'm happy to move that we pass this resolution, and I wish them all the best.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Pardon?
Could they stand so we could applaud
Yes, would you
them?
please stand up? Our people are curious, so thank you very much. Well, with no
Thank you,
further
Madam Judge.
thank you very much. With no further comments, Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Eki. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd. Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
I want to make you guys aware, you don't have to sit through all of this meeting. It can get very lengthy, but you're welcome to stay if you would like to. We'd love to have you.
Take our leave.
Oh, thank you very much. The next thing we have on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Mr. Hill?
Hello, everyone.
They're not speaking.
Hey, what?
I said they're not speaking.
Oh, that's all right. All right, March historically, 7.1, I'm sorry. March historically is not a great month for revenue, and unfortunately, this month isn't an exception to that rule. But you can look at 1,000 general, 2,000 road, 3017 jail, all of them had expenditures over revenues. We're at the quarter poll for 2016, and as I look at the projections, they look to be right on target. We haven't got our big taxes in yet, but that should come in this month and in May. We'll get a big settlement in May. The very next page, the grand totals at the bottom. We began March with $31.5 million in the bank. We ended March with a little over $24 million. This is mostly due to paying out about $5 million in excess collector's commission that we do every year. Like I said, things should pick up this month and in May. 7.2, 1 cent sales tax. Even sales tax was bad this month. It down 2%. This is the first decline we've had since last April, but we usually have one of these every year, so I'm not concerned about it at this point. If you look at 2015 March, we had a very good month then, so maybe it was asking too much to want another increase, but we always do. 7.3, the jail tax. Likewise, it was down $14,000 from the same time last year, but if you look down at the bottom, we're still $87,000 over the same period from 2015. 7.4, the road tax. It was actually up this month. Actually had the best month so far this year for the road tax at $109,000. Finally, the insurance report, 7.5. Only thing I can say about it is we ended better than we started, so that's always a good thing when you're talking about insurance. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? J.P. Cochran?
Thank you, Judge. On our insurance, we're at $1.5 million. Are there any sort of Damocles hanging out there that we know of that might be unusual expenses that would come in, or is everything more or less to be anticipated that anything could happen? I understand that, but
I think we have a big claim coming. I'm not sure.
okay.
Right now, we got $1,368,000 in that same fund for April 21st, today.
Oh, okay.
But, so we are down, but I'm not sure what's going to come down the pike.
Okay.
Just hope for the best.
Would you check with our consultant and kind of give us a little report next month, please?
I can do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
The next thing we have on the agenda is the comptroller's report. Cheryl can't be here, so we got Ashley Farber that's going to present this for us. Ashley, you're recognized.
Hi. If on 8.1 is the unappropriated reserves for March, you'll see that there was a difference of $2,389, and that was the ordinance that was passed last month for the Circuit 3 position. That's the only change that was to 8.1. If anybody has any questions? If you flip over to 8.2, that's the summary of revenues and expenditures, if you have any questions. And then 8.3 is the statement of operations for each fund and department, if you have any questions.
Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ann?
Ashley, can we go back to 8.1?
Yes, ma'am.
February on the jail, and we transferred from their reserve $268,356. Do you remember why we transferred that?
Yes, so a portion of that was the carryover, as well as the 2 jail positions.
The 2 jail positions, okay. Or the increase that we gave, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. That's all I have.
Any questions for Ashley? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The next thing we have on the agenda, number 9, is authorizing the county judge to apply for a justice grant. Mr. Cochran?
Thank you, Judge. Just as you said, it is authorization for the county judge to apply for a grant. Attorney Zaga, would you please read our ordinance, please?
A resolution authorizing the county judge to apply for a Bureau of Justice Assistance grant on behalf of the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Whereas it is the desire of the Washington County Judge and the County Sheriff to apply for a Bureau of Justice Assistance for a body-worn camera pilot implementation program grant, and whereas the Quorum Court has determined that the Washington County Sheriff's Office meets eligibility requirements necessary to apply for said grant, and whereas the Quorum Court recognizes the need for said grant in the amount of up to $75,000 with a 50% match that may be contributed either by in-kind contributions or a combination of payment from the sheriff's budget and in-kind contributions. Now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1. The county judge is hereby authorized to submit a grant application to the Bureau of Justice Assistance. Article 2, the county judge is further authorized to administer the grant funds for the same project.
Thank you, Attorney Zaga. I move to pass 9.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public comment? With no further comments, Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Eva Madison? Yes. Sue Madison? Yes. Joe Maxwell? Yes. Gary McHenry? Yes. Joe Patterson? Yes. Butch Pond? Yes. Bill Ussery? Yes. Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Eki?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Number 10.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes.
10.1 is a resolution also to authorize the county judge to apply for a grant. Attorney Zaga, would you please read?
A resolution authorizing the county judge to apply for a Bureau of Justice Assistant grant. Whereas it is the desire of the county to apply to the Bureau of Justice Assistance for a Technology Innovation for Public Safety grant, and whereas said grant will be used by area law enforcement agencies and prosecutors to address precipitous increases in crime, and whereas the Quorum Court has determined that Washington County meets eligibility requirements necessary to apply for said grant, and whereas the Quorum Court recognizes the need for said grant in the amount of up to $432,600 with no match required. Now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas. Article 1, the county judge is hereby authorized to submit a grant application to the Bureau of Justice Assistance. Article 2, the county judge is further authorized to administer the grant funds for the same project.
Thank you, Mr. Zaga. I would move to pass 10.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? It's 10. It's the second one. We still have another one to go. Any public comment? No further comment. Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Yes.
Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry? Joe Patterson? Butch Pond? Bill Ussery? Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman,
Yes.
Rick Cochran,
Yes.
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Ann Harbison,
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd,
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Number 11.
Thank you, Judge. 11.1 is also a resolution to authorize submittal for a grant for bulletproof vests. Attorney Zaga, would you please read?
A resolution authorizing the submittal of an application for a Bureau of Justice Assistance grant to be used for bulletproof vests. Whereas Washington County has received said grant in the past from the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance to fund a percentage of the cost of new bulletproof vests for the county sheriff's office. And whereas it is the desire of the county judge and the county sheriff to submit an application for said grant for this purpose. And whereas the approved funding level for this grant application is undetermined until said grant is awarded. And whereas the Bureau of Justice Assistance may cover up to 50% of the cost of vests received. Now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas. Article 1, it hereby authorizes and approves the submission of a grant application as stated above.
Thank you. I move to pass 11.1.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public comment? Carly, would you call the roll?
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Joe Maxwell, Gary McHenry, Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman,
Yes.
Rick Cochran,
Yes.
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Ann Harbison,
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd,
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Now we move on to an appropriation ordinance number 12.
Thank you, Judge. This ordinance is kind of a combination between sheriff, jail, animal shelter funds, all combined. Attorney Zaga, will you please read 12.1?
An ordinance appropriating the total amount of $28,920 from the general fund to the sheriff enforcement and sheriff work release budgets, appropriating the amount of $13,475 from the jail fund to the jail budget, recognizing revenues of $78,760 in the animal shelter grant fund, and appropriating the amount of $84,743 from the animal shelter grant fund to the animal shelter grant budget for 2016. Article 1. There is hereby appropriated the amount of $28,920 from the general fund to the line items in the following budgets for 2016. Sheriff enforcement, salary part-time, $1,914. Overtime, $15,224. Social Security, $1,310. Retirement, $2,530. Workers' compensation, $600 for a subtotal of $21,578. Sheriff work release, parts and repairs, $5,342. Other professional services, $2,000 for a subtotal of $7,342 and a total appropriation of $28,920. Article 2, there is hereby appropriated the amount of $13,475 from the Jail Operations Fund to the following line items in the Jail Operations budget for 2016. Jail Operations salary part-time, $199. Overtime, $10,504. Social Security, $819. Retirement, $1,580. Workers' compensation, $373 for a total appropriation of $13,475. Article 3, there is hereby recognized additional revenue of $78,760 in the donations animal shelter revenue line item of the Animal Shelter Grant Fund for 2016. Article 6, there is hereby appropriated the amount of $84,743 from the Animal Shelter Grant Fund to the following line items in the Animal Shelter Grant Fund budget for 2016. Animal Shelter Grant budget, general supplies, $8,080. Small equipment, $1,800. Computer IT equipment, $7,671. Building materials and supplies, $66,192. Medical equipment, $1,000 for a total appropriation of $84,743.
Thank you, Attorney Zaga. On the surface, this might look like we're appropriating money, but actually in Articles 1 and 2, this is a reimbursement back from duties that the Sheriff's Department have performed by contract for, say, the University of Arkansas athletic events, things of that nature. And then in the Articles 3 and 4, and actually, there's a Scrivener's error. It's Article 3 and Article 6 should be Article 3 and Article 4. Those are monies that are moving out of a revenue line item for the donations to the animal shelter, moving it into their grant fund. So I would move to pass 12.1.
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question about the animal shelter revenue. I don't know, Angela, you may be able to answer this question, but I know that we had accepted a check that, I don't know if it's included in this, because
From
they
the
had.
Animal League?
Yeah,
Yes,
from the
ma'am.
Animal League, and they had asked it be designated for capital purposes, so I was curious how we ensured that it went for capital purposes when it didn't end up in the capital?
Well, it's under the building materials and supplies. But yes, it is included in there.
Okay, but it's the check from the event, the 50
The
Shades of Stray?
8,100 and something. I don't know the exact amount, but yes.
Right, okay, so that is
Yes,
in this
ma'am.
amount? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you get the other part? That's a chunk of money.
Lib. That was
Oh.
the money from Lib's estate.
Okay.
The entire, yeah, the rest of that is the money from Lib's estate.
Okay. Are we, because I know our rules for what's capital and the rest of the world's rules for what's capital don't necessarily coincide, so I was curious what the capital plans are for that.
Actually, what I want to put up is to do an awning project. And that's something that the league and I have talked about with Carmen. And
To provide
that's,
the
you know,
shade.
right now, when the work release gentlemen come over, if it is raining outside, and I don't mean storming, I mean just a little bit of light drizzle, they're not allowed to go outside. So if we put an awning over our entire walkway and over part of our kennel runs, they would then still be able to walk dogs when it is raining outside. Obviously storming, they're going to stay in the building, but if it is just a light drizzle with the awning project, there won't be a reason for the animals not to continue to go out with their daily routines. So that's what
Okay.
Carmen and I had discussed using that 8,000 for, and I think that's going to be very beneficial for the shelter.
Okay, thanks, I just was curious.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, discussions?
I didn't hear a second, Judge.
No, we don't
Okay,
have.
I'm sorry.
Who seconded? Okay, thank you very much. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? I want to comment. I want to thank Lib Horn. She's not here, but I want to thank her for what she has done and what she did all those years. She was a blessing to all of us.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, with no further comment, Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Eva Madison? Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell? Gary McHenry? Joe Patterson? Butch Pond? Bill Ussery? Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman? Rick Cochran? Robert Dennis? Lisa Ecke? Ann Harbison? Sharon Lloyd? Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
This ordinance is passed. Number 13, Rick? I'm sorry, Butch. Number 13 is yours.
An ordinance suspending JSAP policies for certain personnel positions, changing the title of a juvenile officer position to a juvenile intake diversion officer in the Circuit Court 3 budget, creating an additional personnel position in the prosecuting attorney's budget, and appropriating the total amount of $36,072 from the general to personal services line items in the Circuit Court 3 and prosecuting attorney's budgets for 2016. Article 1, all applicable JSAP policies to the personnel positions referenced herein by slot number are hereby suspended for the purpose of this ordinance. Article 2, the title of personnel position of juvenile officer grade 15 in the Circuit Court 3 budget of the general fund is hereby changed to juvenile intake diversion officer grade 17 for 2016. There is hereby created the personnel position of senior case coordinator, position 0416014, grade 18 in the prosecuting attorney's budget of the general fund for 2016. Article 4, there is hereby appropriated the total amount of $36,072 from the general fund to the line items in the following budgets for 2016. Circuit Court 3, salaries full-time, slot 0403020, $1,368. Social Security matching, $105. Non-contributory retirement, $199, for a subtotal of $1,672. Prosecuting attorney, salaries full-time, slot 0416014, $25,052. Social Security matching, $1,917. Non-contributory retirement, $3,633. Health insurance, $3,699. Life insurance, $99, for a subtotal of $34,400 and a total appropriation of $36,072.
This will require 3 readings, is that correct?
No, this is
It's
just
an appropriation ordinance.
appropriation ordinance,
So
so
it
it's just one reading.
If it passes by 2/3.
Move to pass.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? J.P. Madison?
Thank you, Madam Judge. I'm still uneasy with this language of suspending JSAP policies, and there were some instances of that in the many minutes that I read through this morning. Would somebody explain exactly again to me, and maybe it will sink in, why are we suspending JSAP policies? I served with Wilson Kimbrough, former JP, and this JSEP was very, very dear to his heart. So do we have somebody that can tell me why we're suspending and what we're suspending?
Butch, you're
We're-
recognized.
The policy is that if we're gonna do something like this, that it needs to come before the court and be brought to the court's attention that we're creating a position, and that's what we've done. We're, JSAP policy is not to create something like this outside the budget process without coming before the court and bring it to your attention so you know this is happening, that you're informed that this is happening. It's the way I understand it. Somebody else may have some different wording they'd like to put forth.
It sounds, I mean, I'm interpreting what he's saying is that it should have gone to JSEP, but it didn't. Is that what's happened here?
No, I'm sorry.
From what I understand, what Lindsay Huffaker, HR director, informed us last time when this happened, suspending JSAP's policy is because it's mid-year and not at the beginning of the budget process. Had it been at the beginning of the budget process, then they wouldn't come to the full quorum court for any approval whatsoever. But because it's mid-year, that's why they have to suspend the rules and come to the quorum court for approval for this position, because it wasn't created at the beginning of the year, but mid-year. Am I correct?
And this did go through JSAP.
It did go through JSAP,
That sounds like a
but
rule we
that's
might
what.
look at changing, because this has happened.
It's mid-year and at the beginning of the process.
Okay. It's because
That
it's
was my
costing money.
understanding of Ms. Huffaker's. Okay,
Okay.
thank you,
All
Madam
right.
Judge.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Any public comment? With no further comment, Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery? Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman? Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke? Ann Harbison? Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
This ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Number 14, Rick.
Thank you, Judge. 14 is an ordinance that anticipates revenue for our drug court. Attorney Zega, would you please read?
An ordinance anticipating and appropriating revenue of $63,529 in the Drug Court Grant Fund for 2016. Article 1, there is hereby appropriated revenue of $63,529 in the State Grant Revenue line item of the Drug Court Grant Fund for 2016. Article 2, there is hereby appropriated the amount of $63,529 from the Drug Court Grant Fund to the Medical Dental Hospital line item of the Drug Court Accountability Budget for 2016.
Thank you. I move to pass 14.1.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public comment? Carly, call the roll, hon.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery? Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman? Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke? Ann Harbison? Sharon Lloyd? Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
This ordinance is adopted. I really don't have anything in my report. We were going to have WWA here tonight, but they're working on a water project, and he feels like maybe the 19th of May will be a better time because he's got a lot of stuff to look at. So he will be here to give his annual report at our next quorum court meeting. So that's the only thing I have tonight, but he did let us know. The next thing we have is our committee reports. County Services, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. We met on April 4th. It seems like, is that right? That is right. Yeah, we met on Monday, April 4th, our regular meeting day. We started with a presentation from Elizabeth Bowen at the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission, who just gave us a presentation on the commission's work on a bicycle and pedestrian master plan for all of Northwest Arkansas. We expect that the county and county lands may be implicated at some point, but we're not there yet. So they just kind of gave us a preview of that's coming at some point for more details. We heard a year-end planning report from Juliet Ritchie from our planning department, and they continue to be busy. And we heard a year-end report from John Adams with the information technology department on the work that his department concluded for 2015. We then turned to our favorite topic, sewers, and had a discussion of community sewer systems. Ms. Renee Bybee brought to us an ordinance reinstating some previous requirements that we had dropped because the state had them and then the state dropped them, so we want to put them back in. We had some folks here to talk about that, and that'll be on our agenda later. And then JP Pond has a resolution supporting the Springdale City Council in naming part of the northern bypass after a deceased police officer, so he'll be bringing that up later. Then we had a discussion about the County Animal Services Advisory Board, or the Concerns Advisory Board, that will continue into our next meeting. And then we had just a big discussion about all the animal issues we've been talking about, and we concluded our meeting. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Next thing we have is Public Works, but Harvey took a vacation, so we didn't.
Let's don't call it a vacation.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Hospital's not a
Harvey.
very good place for a vacation. But we lacked any budget items, any items to be considered, so no meeting was held.
Thank you. Next thing we have is an ordinance review. Bill Ussery.
Yes, we met on the 18th on this Monday, and we have weeded our way through almost the first two chapters. And at the next meeting, we hope to have some, at the next Quorum Court meeting, we hope to have some, at least a portion of the ordinances, the changes that we recommend. We'd like to get those brought before this court and get those changed. A couple of things that we talked about is the changing the word smoking going from smoking to tobacco use, because that's more inclusive and kind of where we're at as a society today. And then there were a couple other little things that we came across that, as far as that agendas and things like that don't need to be set so far in advance because they don't have to be mailed anymore. And so those are the little things that we're going through as we go through the ordinance. And there are 2 or 3 other things we're going to revisit at our next meeting. And so that concludes what we did at our meeting.
Thank you, sir. Personnel, Butch Pond.
Yes, ma'am. We met on the 11th. We had a request from Circuit Court Division 3, Judge Stacy Zimmerman, for a salary increase for a juvenile officer position. And the Director of Juvenile Court Services, Norma Frisbee, addressed the committee stating there is already someone in the juvenile officer position that has been doing casework but is acquiring additional duties. This person will be responsible for monitoring up to 10 ankle monitors, as well as keeping up with the equipment, website, and software in order to track the youth. We had a motion by J.P. Ecke to pass this request to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. The motion was seconded and approved. And I might say again, all these situations like this that come through personnel committee, this sort of thing comes through JSAT and is approved before it goes to personnel. And we had a request from prosecuting attorney Matt Durrett for a new assistant case coordinator position. And this new position and job description was rated at the JSAT meeting. The prosecuting attorney Matt Durrett addressed the committee stating that this is a supervisory position and this person will be responsible for keeping cases flowing in and out of the office. Currently there is too much work for 2 part-time people to handle, so he's requesting that 1 part-time worker be changed to full-time hired. And we had a motion by J.P. Ussery to pass this request to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. The motion was seconded and approved. And I did want to read through this so people that don't come to committees understands what we're doing. And that was thank you.
Jail law enforcement.
We did not meet for lack of agenda.
The next thing we have is an ordinance authorizing county to do business, Ann Harbison.
And Paul Reed to buy dirt from them, and since Travis Reed is employed by the county, we have to have the approval of the Quorum Court to do this. I really think this is a good deal. I was listening to the radio today, and there was someone that came on there with a quote from Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect, and it said, "Follow the truth, not the facts." And that, well, you know, facts are, anyway, I thought that was very appropriate for this meeting tonight for some reason. Follow the truth, not the facts. Because the truth is that this is good dirt. The facts are, when you go to the geologic survey, it says that that's poor dirt down there, but there are pockets of good dirt. Anyway, I just want to make that comment. So, if our attorney will read the ordinance, please.
An ordinance authorizing the county to do business with Alan Reed and Paul Reed, whereas Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-14-1202 requires that the Quorum Court find that it is in the best interest of the county and that unusual circumstances exist before a family member of a county employee can do business with the county, and whereas Alan Reed and Paul Reed are the father and brother respectively of Travis Reed, the bridge supervisor at the County Road Department, and whereas Alan Reed and Paul Reed own property in the southern part of Washington County, and that should be have agreed to supply dirt for road improvement at cost savings to the county, and whereas unusual circumstances exist in that there are no other available sources of dirt in this part of the county other than that offered by Alan and Paul Reed, now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1. The Quorum Court hereby finds that it is in the best interest of the county and that unusual circumstances exist such that the county is authorized to do business with Alan Reed and Paul Reed.
I move that we pass 17-1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, Tom.
Judge,
I'm sorry, just a minute.
I'm sorry. This is not an appropriation ordinance, so for it to go tonight, it's got to be read 3 times.
3 times.
Okay.
Let me just suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules and have a second reading by title only.
Second.
Wait, now, wait a minute, before we do that.
Well, we have to
we
have, okay.
J.P. Lundstrom, you're recognized.
I just wanted to mention, I've been gone for a while, and I've lost track of some of this stuff, but I still have a problem with doing business with family members of Washington County employees. I told Joe Patterson, who's a very good friend of mine, I don't even like doing business with Eagle Body. I didn't like the idea of buying water from Justice Ecke because of the perception that you find outside of the court. People look at this type of thing and they're not happy with it. Whether, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the Reeds or that they're, you know, trying to do anything sneaky. It's just the perception. And I don't feel like we still have all of the numbers on this thing. I don't know what this road's costing us. I know it's not a very long road, but it has to be sufficient to get our trucks in and out of there. I don't know what it's going to cost per load to haul this stuff. So I would like to see some more detailed numbers on this whole project before I'm able to vote for it. As a matter of fact, I would make a motion that we table it one more time and try to get these numbers in here. I'd like to know what the road cost. I'd like to have more numbers on what it's going to cost to actually handle this dirt, because we've got employee cost, we've got equipment cost on the road and all the rest of this. We tend to act like this stuff is free because we're doing it ourselves, but it's costing taxpayer money to do it. So it's interesting to know what a project actually cost. So that's my motion, Madam Judge. Thank you.
I would like to intercede here just a moment, please. We have people back here that are totally prepared to do a presentation tonight. They've got a slide presentation. They've got figures. They've got, so what I'd like to do is, and this is up to the court, what I'd like to do is ask them to come forward while the questions are going on.
Point of order. J.P. Lundstrom made a motion and J.P. Eva Madison seconded it.
I didn't hear the second.
Judge, yeah, there was. And
I'm sorry.
The motion to table parliamentary takes precedence. It's not subject to debate. You need to vote on it.
Let's go ahead. Now, Carly, what we're doing, we're going to do a roll call, and who wants to table this into a later night. So call the roll, please.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Joe Maxwell, Gary McHenry, Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman,
Yes.
Rick Cochran, Robert Dennis,
No.
Lisa Ecke,
No.
Ann Harbison,
No.
Sharon Lloyd,
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom,
Yes.
It fails 8-4, Judge.
So,
The motion to table fails.
okay. So now, again, I would like the people from the road department to come forward and bring, and pull up extra. Huh?
I'm sorry, that count was not right. Did you say 8 to 4?
It's 8-6.
8-6, I'm sorry.
It's 8-6.
Failed by 8-6.
It's still good. Is that right?
It
Still
Okay.
failed, but
Yeah.
Okay.
sorry.
I tallied right in there.
Okay, now, what was Juliet doing, setting up a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, is she going to be a part of this, or is it just you guys from the road department?
She'll come up when we're done, if that's okay.
Okay. Pull up another chair and,
Judge, do we need a motion to do this?
huh? Well, I was just building them up here
That's
for
fine.
questions and debates.
Right, I just
So-
want to know if we need a motion to do it.
I don't
You
think
can.
so.
Yeah, you can make a motion to,
Make a motion that we allow the presentation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, gentlemen, you're available to do a presentation to tell us what you know about the dirt.
First of all, we'd like to say thank you for your questions and your concerns about the pit. We want to answer all of them, for you and for ourselves. We have some maps. I don't know how well you guys can see them or not, but in Washington County, that's where the proposed pit will be going, is to the southern part of the county.
Let me ask a question. Does anyone want to get up and walk over here so they can see that map? Do they want to stand so they can see, or would you prefer just to turn your chairs, or what do you want to do?
The red dots were.
Yes, the red dots, where the pit, yeah.
Identify themselves.
Oh, your map's in your packet, I'm sorry. Yes, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. Would you ask him to talk into the microphone? I'm having trouble hearing it, maybe because J.P. Harbison has left hers on.
They haven't identified themselves either.
Okay, give us your names.
Brad Phillips, Assistant Road Superintendent.
I'm Charles Ward, Road Superintendent.
Okay, so everyone seems to be happy with their seating, so proceed.
There's an aerial shot of it off of 71 South. That's how far the actual pit itself, where we'll be digging, is off of Highway 71. Is it
How many
closer?
miles is that, guys?
How far was that?
It's a little less than half a mile.
Okay.
That's a closer view there. Yes, sir. Yes. That will go through the ADQ process. We have to have permits, and all of our stormwater and all that will be taken care of through them. So that's where, in your packet, if you'll read the part that says that we'll still have to have all of our permits for that. We'll have to have our
Detention.
sediment ponds, detention ponds, catch any kind of sediment, stuff like that.
So you've considered that and know it's
Yeah.
all right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That there is showing the other three pits that we have in Washington County. If you'll notice, compared to the blue down there in the bottom where we're planning on putting this pit, if you guys agree to it, is quite a ways south from any other pit we have.
No,
I'm sorry?
Are our pits now in the dark? Is that what we're seeing? The dark
the
color?
red dots there across the top.
Oh, red dots. Okay, I'm
Yes, ma'am.
sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
The blue roads that are highlighted there are the roads that will be beneficial to this pit. They're the ones that are going to get the most benefit.
impact.
The green, I don't know how well you guys can see that from there, but that's our state aid roads. Those are the roads that we get state aid help from. And if you'll notice down there in the blue area, we don't have any state aid, no help whatsoever down in this area. So by opening this pit, it's going to save us in our mileage, our trucks, wear and tear, oil changes, and accidents coming off 16 where we'd have to haul the pit, the dirt from 16 down to.
The exposure to heavy traffic roads would be minimized.
And that's basically all we have on the PowerPoint presentation. We'd like any questions you guys may have. We would try to answer them. And we also have a couple of maps that you can pass around and look at. It's basically the same thing we just looked at there, but you can hold them in your hand if you like.
And
Thank you, Judge. Have you all done a cost analysis on the total anticipated cost compared to the total benefits that we're going to get for the county? Have you all done that yet? And can that be done?
Total cost.
And I mean, I know it'd be an estimate. I'm just thinking about a cost-benefit analysis for us, for the county. I mean, that's usually always the bottom line for
Well, in the packet, we did an overall of what it costs to haul from 16.
where's the?
It's in our packet?
Yes, ma'am.
It should be.
What page would that be on? Would you help me? 41.
Is this it? That's not it, is it?
Yeah, it's in there.
No, I'm just talking about the savings. What page is that, the savings?
46.
46 at the
That I
top.
would like to make a statement here also. When we got ready to renew our contract with the Lindsays, and we went out to get the contract signed, which is not a lot of money because we've had that contract with the Lindsays since 1986, I think. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's right. We paid them $3.50 a load. They went up this time to $4 a load. So they did raise, which is understandable because it's been a long time, but I just wanted you to be aware that they raised it from $3.50 to $4. So. Yes, please. Yes, J.P. Ussery.
I'd like to thank these guys for putting this together. I think this is very, very thorough. If you haven't had a chance to read through this in the packet, it answered all my questions, and I really appreciate all the work that y'all put into it. I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense. I know I've had a call from somebody down in that area, and they told me, they said, just get the roads fixed. We've been so long without it. Let's get this thing resolved, and we're ready to get our roads fixed. And as it states in here, I think it's pretty clear, they tried, and there's no other place to get red dirt in that area. So it seems like y'all did a really good job, and I appreciate all the time you took putting this together for us. And like I said, if y'all haven't had a chance to look through it, please look through it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. No, wait, I've already had, who had their hand up over here before? Okay, J.P. Lundstrom, and then, okay.
I'm still curious what the road's costing.
Okay, it's
Do you
in
know
there.
what that is?
Yes, sir, it's in there as well.
Page 43.
It's around $14,000 is what the road cost us to put in.
Okay, when we're talking about a cost analysis, in other words, you basically have to take the total cost of what it cost us to do it and add that to the price per load of dirt over some period of time. I mean, you see what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I still have the family issue thing. I'm not absolutely sure that's the only red dirt in that part of the country. I'm taking your word for it. But it's funny that, to people's perception again, going back to that the only red dirt we can find belongs to the family of one of our supervisors. So it's just perception.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
So
If anyone has any out there that is willing to sell it to us, we'd be more than happy to buy it from them.
Now, are they, well, I appreciate that, and this may get out and we'll hear from some. But are we going to dig that dirt out and load it, or are they going to be digging it and loading it in our trucks for us?
It'll be the same as the 16 pit. We'll do all of it. We'll dig it, load it, haul it.
So they're charging us, what does it cost us to go buy red dirt from the red dirt pit where they dig it, load it, and haul it?
Around $12 a load.
Okay, so we've
That's not what we would pay for it. That's what Les Rogers pays for it.
Well, but we've got about $9 a load then we're looking at. Just difference between the cost, not counting what it cost us to haul it and load it and everything too. So I'm trying to find this savings that you're talking about.
In the short run, it looks like it's costing us more. But if we can keep this pit open long enough to repair several of these roads, if you look at the cost savings from hauling it from a longer distance, and then also exposing those trucks to more traffic, more opportunities for accidents, more opportunities for broken windshields, things of that nature. I mean, in a 3-year plan, I think we're going to be saving money.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, I've got several more. Yeah. Are you finished?
Yes,
Judge?
thank
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. In your cost savings on page 46, you didn't even put in their fuel cost. You alluded to the savings for labor, for employees that we wouldn't spend because we're not traveling as long, and actual wear and tear besides tires and oil changes. There's a lot more cost there that could be recouped because we're not wearing the trucks out so fast.
Yes, sir.
You know, how many loads do you expect to run out of this pit through this summer?
We pulled all the, we're thinking 1,000 loads.
Okay.
Yeah. We pulled the numbers on all last year. We hauled roughly 700 loads from the other pits.
Okay.
For the whole year. So, I mean, we're not expecting to haul much more than that.
How many years do you expect this pit to last based on that usage?
You're talking about until we run out of dirt there?
Right.
It could last up 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's plenty of dirt there.
Okay.
As far as he would let us move, you know.
Well, I understand that. I think you've got a good savings for the county. It isn't complete as far as the savings on here. I see money that you haven't even put into this analysis. I applaud your effort to find us a cost savings. This is what we hope all of our departments will do, is find more effective, more efficient ways to use the county's and the taxpayers' money. So I support what you guys are doing. Thank you,
sir.
J.P. Sue Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. You were talking just now about the lifetime of the pit, for how long we could dig.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a contract with the owner for how long? Is that included, how long you could use it, or could he wake up one day and say, we're tired of trucks in here and you're done?
That's going to, we've been waiting to decide if you were going to let us do business with the Reeds. We originally had a contract that was going to go from year to year.
Okay, so it's unknown.
Yes, ma'am. We was waiting on you guys.
So we could be making a substantial investment and not know how long we would be able to draw on that investment.
Yes, ma'am. We put the road in unaware that we couldn't do business with the Reeds because they were family members of one of our employees. Charles and I did that.
Well, let me ask you this. Having looked at the issue on Smoky Bear for quite a while, there was a property owner there that let dirt be used from his property, and as a consequence, the county built him a lake. And every time I drove out there, there was work going on the levee around the lake. And a lot of that was required by ADEQ for various, abatement issues or stabilization. What kind of side benefits would accrue to the property owner by virtue of having this pit there? Is there going to be a new lake, an enlarged pond? Is there going to be paved roads? What?
No, ma'am.
What
In this scenario, the only thing we're going to have to do to remediate is to make sure the slope is there. There's no pond being made or anything of that nature.
So in other words, there's not vertical drop-offs.
Yeah.
We'll
So
put a slope to it.
ADEQ will specify how to remediate the
Exactly.
slope.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that included in your costs?
Yes,
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah.
Would you tell me what page it's on, or?
Well, I don't have your packet, but it's on the cost savings and trips page.
I believe it's
Y'all said
36.
43, 46. From what?
I see
before-
2,800 in tires per truck. I'm not seeing what the ADEQ required abatement.
The cost at 14,000 includes everything we've done so far to that road. Silt fences, the silt pond, everything they're requiring us to do is included into that until we pulled out of there. Now, it's not finished because we pulled out.
I'm talking about in the future, when ADEQ requires you to stabilize or abate a slope.
We intend, if this can work, what we intended to do, we were going to open up 3 to 4 acres at a time. As we got done with that 3 to 4 acres, we would remediate as we go. All that means is taking a dozer and trimming the slope back to where it's not a vertical slope, and then move on to the next section. That section will be completely closed. It'd have grass seed on it, and we'll be moving on to the next section.
And that expense is in here? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I don't know that it's
No,
physically
it's
in there
not.
because it's something that we're going to be doing as we go. As we're digging, we can be remediating.
So there is some future expense?
Once you get to the back of where you're going to stop digging, you can dig in such a way that you're not necessarily having to go back in there and do a tremendous amount of work.
Your
Well, that
expense
may
is
be
gonna
up to
your seed.
ADEQ.
Yeah, the grass seed is going to be the biggest expense in the remediation.
Well, I have to tell you that the experience that I had with the residents in Smoky Bear did cause me some concern about the way the county handled that. And this, to me, is much more egregious because there's a close family involvement with the county here. It doesn't pass my smell test, really. It just, and for you all to have not had it occur to you that you were working on an employee's family property.
We knew we were working on a family member's property. We didn't realize we couldn't do that.
Your antennas didn't go up over that issue at all?
No, ma'am.
Oh, we may need a little lesson here on things like
And as
that.
far as going back to Smoky Bear, with the Smoky Bear deal, he gave us the dirt, and he ended up with a pond. The cost was not there for the dirt. The cost was not there to necessarily build a road to get the dirt out of there.
I realize those are
Yeah.
not totally oranges to oranges, but
Yes, ma'am.
there was some dissatisfaction with the neighbors over the benefit to the other person's property. That's all I have right now, Judge. Thank you.
J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Judge. A couple of questions that triggered there that I want to follow up while they're fresh. Any cost of future remediation, is it different than what we would anticipate with some of the other red dirt pits that we currently run and are currently assuming that cost in getting that red dirt?
No, sir. The cost would be exactly the same. The remediation would be the same.
So it's a cost incurred to the county, but it's not cost different than what we would pay if we continue to dig that dirt out of?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
And then something come out about starting this process with an extended member of a family member or whatever of the county employees. Do I understand it correctly that you actually had a signed contract that had been signed and given to you guys to give you the go-ahead to that before you started?
Yes, sir. We had a signed contract. Yes, sir.
So you thought you were in compliance?
Yes, sir.
And had what you, okay. And then I would also say, I echo J.P. Ussery's comments. I do appreciate, however this falls out and however people fall out, I do appreciate the thoroughness and the proactiveness in trying to answer as many of these questions ahead of time with this presentation, this email. I think that helps a whole lot, and I know it took a lot of work. So either way, I appreciate the job that you're doing on that. And then one other question that was triggered earlier, on the year-to-year basis, if this is approved, do you have a set minimum amount of years that you would ask the Reeds to agree to, so that if we do invest the money up front for a road to get there and we kind of get this process started and we pay the upfront cost, I agree with the concern that we want to make sure that's amortized out over a long enough period of time where it makes financial sense. Do you have a set minimum, and what is that, I guess?
We're looking at 5 years is what we'd like to go with.
Okay. Do you anticipate any resistance from the Reeds, if this is approved, of getting a 5-year minimum?
No, sir.
Okay. And then, last question, you mentioned that right now, currently, other people are paying $12 a load if it's loaded and kind of, I guess, turnkey. You just back your truck up and pick it up.
No, I misspoke there. That would be for someone that is buying red dirt off someone else. So that'd be an individual going out there and doing the same thing we are, but then he's selling it. So he's paying $12 to load his own trucks.
Okay, so he's paying $12 for the load and then paying, assuming the additional cost to have a loader, an employee, all that process to actually get the truck loaded. So the cost of the dirt in the truck is actually
more than the $12.
Somewhere above 12, whatever that estimation would be. And we currently load our own trucks now at the other side.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, J.P. Maxwell. J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. Just to follow up on J.P. Maxwell's question to make sure I understand, if we went to a private dirt pit, not the Lindsay pit that's our own, tell me the cost if, let's say, is there an option where I can say, I want you to bring the dirt to me? So I would assume there is. So we don't have to use our own truck, our own labor. The dirt arrives where we need it to. What's that cost?
It depends on how far they're having to haul it.
Okay.
But just to buy the dirt out of a red dirt pit was going to cost you, rough number here is $40 to $45 a load.
And that's for them to travel?
No, that's just for you to buy the dirt.
That's for us to bring our truck there and let them load us. That's what they would sell it to us for.
Okay. Did you all price what it would cost to go to Les Rogers or whoever and have them carry the dirt from their pit to the south part of the county?
You're talking about having them to truck it for us.
Right. Well, because, we're talking a lot about the time involved, the wear and tear on vehicles, the employee costs. So I'm saying if we cut that out and put that on somebody else, what does it cost us?
It's probably going to be somewhere around $110 to $120 a load. I'm guessing there. I don't know. I'd have to ask.
We didn't get that
It
number.
would also depend on where they're getting the dirt from also. If they're having to haul it from up in Springdale, obviously the haul bill is going to be a lot taller than if they were hauling from somewhere closer.
Okay. Because, I appreciate the additional information. I'm not sure I'm there, though, because I see that as sort of a comparison of if what we're trying to compare to, did we price it out to know what it actually costs in the marketplace? And the answer to that is no. Okay, so
I don't understand why we would compare it to the marketplace, because we would still be hauling on our own dirt from another pit that we own, or hauling from. So we compared it to that, and we got our cost savings in there.
Well, but I think at some point we should always do a reality check with the market to make sure that we're not giving ourselves a bad deal on our own. That's just, it's one of the things I learned from Carl Gales during the bridge investigation was you don't know you've saved money unless you actually bid it out and got the price from a third party who's in that business. So that's my logic. That's why I asked that question.
We can definitely look into that.
Okay. We will. And then I'm curious, and this is just, I've only seen pictures of the actual location. It strikes me that 5 years and 1,000 loads a summer, I think is what you said?
Yeah, well, 1,000 loads a year. It could be plus or minus that. Yes,
so how do we determine that there's actually enough dirt there? Because if you guys came to me, if I'm Mr. Reed and you come to me, I have no idea on my property if I don't have a concept. Do we know that it would actually last 5 years?
It's a half a mountainside. He's going to let us go back as far as we want to.
There's 20. I don't know how many acres there are in there. There's over 15, 20 acres, I'm saying, and 1,000 loads is going to be probably somewhere around a half an acre.
3 feet deep or 30 feet deep. Yeah, and I guess how deep is it? Have we gone down to see how deep the dirt that we're looking for goes? Because sometimes you can dig and hit rock pretty quickly. Do we go down and see?
Yes, ma'am.
How far does it go?
Oh, we haven't dug and see how far we can get to bedrock, but we've dug in there just to test it, to see what kind of soil we have.
Okay. Well, so I know somehow Ms. Sims has made me a dirt expert. I'm not. I think she might be the dirt expert now. So I was concerned about the information she learned from the USDA about the quality of the soil. So what have we done to make sure that this is actually of the quality of soil we're looking for?
We actually had a geotech come down and take samples and and they tested it.
Was it GTS?
No, ma'am. It was Archon.
I'm sorry, who?
Archon.
Okay. And what'd they tell us?
I'm on the wrong page. Here we go.
Street out.
Okay, he comes through here. I'm not.
Very last.
Right here. He shows the classification, what the classification of each sample that he took, and then he made a notation here that he would say the borrow is adequate to use for road fill.
Okay.
And it has all the technical terms on here.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that company because I know we use GTS on the bridges, and
Yeah.
I met with them, so I don't know that company.
We have used GTS on occasion.
Okay. So I was curious, in the materials that you provided to us, you talked about your efforts to try to go get dirt elsewhere. And I, like J.P. Lundstrom, am troubled by the familial relationship. And part of it's the closeness of it. It's that it's the bridge supervisor's dad and brother, as opposed to, somebody that works in the sheriff's office that y'all happen to knock on his door. It's the closeness in the department. So I'm curious, if you said you went out and tried to find somebody else, did we send letters? How many people did we go to? Tell me more about the efforts you did to find somebody else.
The main thing is we were looking at geographic. I mean, we don't necessarily want to try to put a pit somewhere to where we're going to have to travel on 3 to 4 miles of dirt road and affect residents with dust and things like that. We were trying to be smart about it and be close to a paved road where it's not affecting a lot of people. This particular situation just worked. We're coming on to a main state highway. It's relatively low traffic in the southern Winslow area. I mean, it was low impact. It just seemed to make sense. We did.
Then there was 10 to 12 homes or farms that we went to, knocked on doors, Charles and I, and walked up to them and spoke with the people, left our cards, and they said they would think about it. No one's come back to us.
Well, did you follow up with a letter? Did we talk to him about finances? 'Cause somebody knocks on my door and wants to buy dirt out of my yard. I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm going to call these people back. I would like to get a letter in the mail, maybe like from the county judge or something.
And no, we didn't do that.
Okay.
And we didn't advertise in the newspaper or anything. It was physically going around and trying to contact these folks. And it's generally people that had a large portion of land that was geographically ideal for our trucks to run in and out, where we weren't causing damage to our own roads or other public roads.
Okay, so I wanted to ask too, in your cost estimates, I know with the road, the haul road costs, have you done any factoring in of the equipment costs?
Yes, we figured the equipment cost, fuel, the man-hour labor.
So the $14,000 figure includes everything?
And the gravel and the road crossings that we had to install.
Okay. Do you guys have a breakdown on that at all? Because I'd like to sort of see the backup for that.
I don't have it exactly broke down, but I can get that for you.
Okay. And then my last question is, you mentioned in here, and I don't remember because I looked at it late last night, that there were some neighbors that you would seek permission from? That there were some, it seemed like there were some additional steps that needed to be taken?
That's because we're moving the existing road, a portion of the existing road that we started, and we're going to come out of. We're going to move that road now, so we're not using a driveway, safety reasons.
Is that because of the planning help?
After talking to the planning board, they had determined that the sight distance out of the original exit where we were wanting to come out was not sufficient. So we decided that we could move the road and allow for that sight distance.
And we haven't gotten those neighbors' permission yet to do that?
We have verbal permission right now. We don't have anything in writing, but we
Okay.
do have verbal permission.
And how do we go about getting that? Because I'm just a little worried. I've just had the people that comment to me about, they don't like somebody knocking on their door, sort of saying like, hey, we're out here, can you give us permission? Because they feel like they're put on the spot. It seems better for people to get a letter in the mail and have a chance to think about it before they respond. So I'm curious how we went about doing that.
Contacting them by phone, but it's all preliminary. We've been on a holdings pattern for a little while, waiting for all this to find out if we were even going to be able to do business there. It'd be a waste of everybody's time, including the Washington County's employees, to try to do some of these things without even knowing if we're going to be able to do the business.
Okay. And do we have the full planning recommendation? I know Juliet's coming next. Do we have the full recommendation back or not? No, we do not.
We're not going to evaluate it, I mean, we haven't had a formal submission because
Our biggest issue is we need to know if we can do business with Paul Reed, because if we can't do business with Paul Reed, what we've done now has been in vain.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Judge.
Next I have is J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. Some of my questions have been answered, but I just want to follow up with, okay, so we'll have a contract with the Reeds, and in the contract, will it say how long we can haul the dirt out of there? I mean, is that going to make sure
Yes,
you're going to
ma'am.
have that in there?
We'll update the contract to specify the amount of time that y'all allow us to stay in there.
Okay, so once we put all this money into developing all this, we'll say 5, 10, 15 years or whatever?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's 15 to 20 acres, is that correct?
That's an estimate, but yes, ma'am.
Wait just a minute, we've got a, Russ?
When they had me look at the property, it's approximately 72 acres, but I think he has more land around that. But the actual parcel that I looked at, values and tax purposes stuff was 72, about 72 acres.
Okay, so that's a lot more than you thought.
Yeah, well, in the section that we're working in, that he's
Would be
allowing us to work in.
15 to 20. And just going back to something Sue Madison, J.P. Madison has said, we're not, and you may have already said this and I just didn't, we're not putting a pond in, right? We're just taking dirt out and then putting grass seed back over. I mean, that's what we're wanting to do, right?
That's correct. There is a mandatory sediment pond. It's not like going to be a fishing pond or anything. It's required by ADEQ to be there to catch the sediment. But no, we're not remediating in any way to make a pond or anything like that.
Okay, and has Mr. Reed already said how much a load that he wants to charge? Is that the $3.50?
The $3.50.
$3.50, and then the other guy's gone up to $4. Okay, thank you.
J.P. Harbison. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on.
To me, this is a win-win situation. We get dirt cheap. If you looked at that map of all those blue roads down there, we're looking at several miles of roads. And I can testify, I had drove a school bus on Bunyard. I know the condition of Bunyard Road personally. It needs reconditioning very, very badly. All of those roads down in there, y'all do your best you can to keep them graded and keep gravel on them. But they do need, I mean, we have just graded over the years, you know, some of these roads have a little gravel on them, but we need the base and we need these roads built up because the population is starting to increase out there. You know, I was out in that area and I already saw 2 new houses being built, you know, because they have water out there. Many of those areas now are breaking up their land into 20 and 30 acre sections for mini farms. So, you know, this is a win-win situation for the county. We get our roads built up, we get them done a lot cheaper than we can otherwise if we contract it out. You know, I paid $110 a load for some red dirt. And that did not include the distance haul because you get the load 110 and then they put a mileage on it to come out. And this was from Les Rogers. So, you know, I'm sure he would give the county a better deal, but this is a much better deal than what you could get it from Les Roger or any other APAC or any other company in the county. I mean, you know, I look at things realistically. I look at them maybe, I don't look at them academically. Does this work? You know how to build roads. It may not, you know how to put the dirt down. You know how to use that dirt to make a good base. And we give you, I have confidence that you can build good roads out of this material. Now, if you haven't been down there to look at the site, I've been down there twice. I took a friend up down there last Friday. We went up there, and it's a hill. It's kind of like and they're going to start and dig into the side of the hill and take the material out. Once they get past an area and don't take any other material out, and, yes, they could get in there and there might not be that much material in there, but that's a chance that we take because we are going on the samples that we're taking, and we're going on the appearance and what the dirt is that you can see there when you go up there. So, I think this is a win-win situation for the county. It's a win-win situation for my constituents. They need roads. So I support you. I don't see, there's no way that we can pay $150 a load to go down there and build these roads. We don't have that kind of money. So, if we don't approve it, then, maybe we'll have to do that. Maybe we'll need to transfer that $1.2 million back from reserves into the road fund. That would be a good thing. Thank you.
J.P. Dennis.
First of all, I need to ask a parliamentary question, Steve, or whoever answers it. Is it all right for me to make a motion right now that we give the Reeds the Washington County Champion Award for 2016? Or do I have to wait until after all this? Because I tell you what, I came in here perfectly balanced on this, and I was 50-50. Because I do read a book, and some books, I don't read a lot, but one book I read that says avoid the appearance of all evil. Well, I see absolutely no evil here. So I came in cautious about it and thinking I wasn't going to vote for it. But Gary McHenry and I are kin. We go back to Adam and Eve, both of us do. I think the Madisons are kin. Y'all seem to do business with each other over there. Northwest Arkansas is very small, and when I stand in Walmart, I see people after people after people that I know or I am kin to. And I certainly am glad that I'm able to work there, knowing people. But on the common sense side, I see what you're doing and how you wrote it out. You're not cost accountants, otherwise you'd be wearing white shirt and ties, wouldn't you? Yes. And so I just did a little bit. 1,000 loads, if someone tell me 1,000 loads times $3.50, how much is that?
$3,500 a year.
Pardon me?
$3,500 a year.
Oh, how much a year?
$3,500.
Oh, $3,500. Okay, so 1,000 loads at $3.50 is $22,600. So we're going to buy 1,000 loads. 1,000 loads saves us, if I figured right, if it's 50 cents a load cheaper, if you're paying $4 and it's $3.50, that's 50 cents. So 50 cents times 1,000 is, what did I have? $500 savings just right there. If everything else was even, we saved $500. But it's not. Not everything is even. You said we saved, I did fuel, and just taking the mileage and then multiplying it out for like $1.78 a gallon, and I think diesel might be higher than that.
It's gone higher. Yeah.
And then how many trips you were making, that's $18,600 savings. And then I went ahead and did labor, and I was figuring labor, and I came up with $27,666 savings on labor. I commend you. I commend the Reeds. I thank them. I wish we had more folks like them. And, I came in with some reservation. But I'll also tell you this. I wanted to tell you this too. I called around and asked for some references, and boy, did I ever get good references. And then I've also gotten called on some good references too, and that. But I'll also give my own testimony about Travis Reed. I went out to Stonewall Bridge no less than 30 times because it was easy for me. I live out that way. And I would stop and I'd see what the road department was doing. Until Travis Reed went on that site, when he was there, I came, and it was like a completely different place. It was like watching a bunch of bees build a honeycomb. I mean, everybody was sweating, everybody was working, nobody was sitting on the trailer taking a smoke break. Now, I could have stopped at the same time every day, and it just happened to be their break. But when he was running that show, he got the work done, and I appreciate him. I've never seen anybody get as much work done as he was. So I also commend him. The fact that he just happened to be kin to him, I don't think, I know the appearance of it doesn't look right, but in my personal opinion, to save that kind of money and have it be that convenient, I just have to say, I'm okay with it. If our county attorney says to me, I see no problem with doing business this way, then I'm all for it, and I'll be voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. And I haven't done the numbers, but you've also got wear and tear on your equipment that he hasn't figured in. You figure your dump truck costs you, what, $135,000 for brand new?
Yes, sir.
Runs a couple 100,000 miles until you have to have major repairs.
Yes, sir.
Got to buy tires all the way along that. This is a huge savings, as I've said before. I have a question for our attorney. Would it be wise to include in our ordinance that we secure a contract for a 5-year period, and that the Reeds also delineate the area that we would be able to mine?
I actually, may I engage?
Yes, please.
I actually thought about that, Justice Cochran, and my hesitation in doing that is, it's essentially your role is to determine whether or not we do business.
Okay.
And the other side, essentially, they're an equal contracting party. So they may not want to, I don't know that we can force a 5-year term on them. I did think about that.
Okay.
So
All right. So it's a
it's a good idea. I just don't know that we can do it.
Okay. Well, then I'll just ask you two that when you negotiate a new contract, try and get your 5-year term and have them delineate the area that we're going to be able to mine so that you know you have an adequate supply for 5,000 loads.
Yes,
and,
sir.
And get your contract rate set in there for that period of time so that you're locked in at $350 per load for those 5 years. And, when the 5-year period expires, then if we've got more dirt and we still have more need down in the Winslow area, we can renegotiate. Your roads are going to already be there. No cost to do it other than remediate as you mine. I'll call for question.
Yeah, someone second that?
Second.
Judge,
Yeah, yes.
you can vote on that, but it's still on first reading.
Right. This is going to take 3 readings, so we'd have to make a motion to suspend the rules and place it on the second title.
Yeah, I did.
So where are we?
Judges, we have not had, we did have a motion to adopt, but it was premature because it's not been read 3 times. So at the pleasure of the court, one of 2 things needs to happen now. You either need to leave it on first reading, or someone needs to move to suspend the rules and read it for the second time.
There's a motion and a second to call the question on the floor.
But, well, the question on what?
Well, there was a motion made.
You withdraw, okay. Okay, so now, Butch made a motion to suspend the rules and place it on second reading, title only. I have a second on that? Okay. Steve?
We have to have a vote, Judge.
Okay. Let's do a roll call. Carly, call the roll.
Eva Madison? No. Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman?
No.
Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Definitely yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom,
No.
Judged by a vote of 9-5 and 2/3 being 10, the motion to place it on second reading by title only fails.
So can we read it for the first time and vote it for the first time tonight?
No,
Or
ma'am.
is it-
It's now on, it has to progress to the next quorum court meeting
Okay.
on second reading.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Let's have a break. I'm sorry. And it's emergency ordinance amending Washington County Code for dangerous animals. Sponsors Eva Madison, Sue Madison, Bill Usry. Steve, I guess bring it to, okay.
Before I read it, I've
Yep.
asked Justice Eva Madison for a favor.
I would like to make a motion to read on first reading by title only, since we've already read it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor to read this by title only, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Title only.
An emergency ordinance amending Washington County Code, Chapter 2.7 in regard to dangerous, potentially dangerous, and hazardous animals.
So I have JP Essery, JP Madison, and I wanted to bring this back because we felt like at the last meeting, we had some people absent. And in addition, I think there were some people that were a little bit unfamiliar with the ordinance, especially with the hazardous animal addition at the last meeting. And so I was worried that maybe the newness of some of it was people's reluctance to vote on it. And so I thought if we gave it time, and then one other thing that I wanted to think about, and I will need Mr. Zega's help on this in terms of a motion to sever, if I think I'd have that right. I was a little bit curious about making a motion to sever the original ordinance and then the hazardous separately, because I think there's perhaps a difference in opinion over those. Can you do that?
May I engage in colloquy?
Yes.
JP Madison. Justice Madison, are you asking to strip out the parts of the ordinance that deal with the hazardous animal definitions and essentially take it back to the ordinance?
Right. I'm worried that maybe we lost some votes because of that addition. And while I appreciate JP Essery's work on that, and I joined in those, I felt like if we gave members the chance to vote on the two separately, the original ordinance, then the revisions, that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I thought it was a motion to sever, like to split an issue.
It is, but you're.
Sorry.
No. It seems to me that what you have before you, you'd have to amend it to do that, and then.
How does the motion to sever work?
Well, motion to sever, you'd have two distinct issues on the floor. And I think the last time we did it was when J.P. Harbison had something where she moved for two things. And I believe you moved to split those into two distinct issues. And it was proper, clearly. You don't have, what I think you have before you now is published is this motion in 18,
Okay.
or this ordinance is 18.1. You don't have an alternative in front of the court. And so I suppose you could make a main motion first and then move to split that motion, but I'm not sure how the mechanics of that would work.
Okay, well, I just want to keep options.
To accomplish what I think you're asking me, I think you just have to do a straight amendment to this and
Okay.
strike out all those parts that refer to hazardous animals.
Okay. Then I think what I'd like to do is, I would like to move to pass 18.1 with the following amendments. I would like to take out the hazardous animal provisions with the notion that we would vote on those separately if the main motion passed. And then I would like to take out the emergency aspect of it.
Okay, may I speak?
Yes, please.
Two things there. I think I'm going to it's going to take me a little bit of time to go through and cross out the hazard, because there's a definitional section and then the, what you do with the animal, the substantive
Right.
section. But if you take out the emergency clause, you're going to have to get it read 3 times tonight.
That's right. I know that.
Okay, all
I
right.
just,
Don't you want a second before we talk about this?
will speak.
Second.
Okay, we'll just sit still for just a few moments, and we'll let Steve work on this, and then we'll move forward.
We haven't voted on it yet. Should we vote? Should we vote on the motion?
Do we want to vote to remove that before we?
Well, yeah, I think, no, wait,
That was the main motion.
you voted to pass it.
I moved to pass 18.1 with those changes.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's where I got confused. You can't pass it yet because it hasn't been read 3 times. If you remove you have to amend it, then pass it.
Okay,
Because,
well,
especially because you're striking the emergency clause.
So you have to vote on the amendment?
well, I can't amend something that's not on the floor, though.
You can, well, you can say, I just move to amend the motion or the ordinance before you now. In other words, simply by striking out those, and that's what I thought you said
Okay.
at
If that's
first.
proper, then that's what the motion is. Then I'll move to amend it as removing the hazardous animals provisions and the emergency clause.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Now-
So, yes.
I'll second.
Since we have 2 issues, we have the emergency clause and we have the hazardous animal clauses. I think these need to be voted on separately.
That's a motion to sever.
So I think what we've got on the floor is a motion and a second to vote on this by taking these particular line items out. Is that not correct? Okay. Any discussion, or is everybody confused?
Did we make a motion to sever or not?
Nobody seconded.
Okay.
Well, I didn't make a motion, I just asked, shouldn't it be
You
separated?
can, but you can also vote on it together.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that they be separated, the emergency clause and the hazardous animal clause. If anyone agrees with it,
Do I
second
have
it.
a motion?
Yeah, it's motion.
And do I have a second?
Wait a minute. Isn't that what we had to begin with?
No, we're going to vote on them separately. Do we want this an emergency clause where it goes into effect right now? She says to remove that. But she also wants to remove all of Bill Usry's work on the hazardous animal stuff. And I'm not going
Is
to
that
agree to
correct?
that.
You're removing, if I may, Madam Judge, ask clarification on, was it just the wording and the definition of hazardous or the entire, Justice
The
Usry, the entire, okay. Thank you for that clarification.
I need to ask J.P. Usry, are you okay with this?
I'm a little confused as to why we would want to do this, because the whole purpose in us doing all the work, the part that I did, was so that we could have balance. And so that we could, the last thing in the world we want somebody to do is to go out and, if it was the way it was initially, we were tying, according to the meetings we had, we were tying the officer's hand that was going and seeing it, and he would have no choice but to either put the animal up or give them nothing. And so we're trying to do something else. And so that was why we did this. If we pull this out, part of it passes and part of it doesn't, we're going to be right back where we were, and I certainly can't support
Explain
that.
what I'm trying to
Thank
do.
you.
I don't think he understands.
Okay. So do we have something on the floor to vote?
Math.
Well, I think we do. We have Justice Madison's original main motion. I did not hear a second to Justice Harbison's motion to sever.
But it sounded the same thing.
Okay.
But can I respond to J.P. Usry's comment?
J.P. Maxwell, hang on, I'm going to let J.P. Maxwell, I'm going to recognize you. Go ahead.
So
J.P.
my concern was that we lost some votes, and it failed the last time because of the addition of the hazardous animals. And so I'm trying to give people the opportunity to split the issues. I'm not trying to rule it out. I'm just sort of trying to do it in phases, is what my goal is. I understand you oppose it, you want it to be all one, but I'm trying to see if we can get something passed rather than nothing, because I don't want a part of it to cause the whole thing to fail. I would rather have just the dangerous and potentially dangerous than nothing. I would prefer to have all of it, but I'm a little worried we won't get the votes that way. So we'll just see if, how it does.
J.B. Pond. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe Maxwell. I didn't write you down.
Just a point of clarification, I'm very confused here. I thought that
So am I.
what J.P. Harbison suggested a while ago is identical to what I thought I heard J.P. Madison suggest initially, and that was sever them, make them two separate issues, and approach them on two different votes, so that if the majority of us are in favor of part of it, but maybe not all, it doesn't kill it all. So can you, but I also understood that maybe you coached against that because of some detail. That's the way I perceived it, so help me understand.
Well, I think, may I engage?
Yes, please.
Justice Maxwell in a colloquy. You are accurate in your perception, but until the ordinance that was in front of you as presented as 18.1, there wasn't, Justice Madison, it's drafted, so it presents problems with me going through and crossing out just the hazardous and then later going back and essentially amending it at the same point. My suggestion was simply that she state all her amendments all at once for that reason, and then you could have a motion to sever, which was Justice Harbison's motion. It wasn't saying you can't eventually do exactly what she suggested. It was you need to get the whole thing on the floor and then start splitting it.
J.P. Pond?
I was prepared to, because of the input and all the discussion we've had on it and everything else, I was prepared to vote for this ordinance in its present form, the way it's printed on this paper. I would like to have had J.P. Maxwell's amendment in there also. But I was going to settle for this. You start amending this and splitting it, you're not going to get my vote. I'll be voting no on this motion to sever or whatever you want to call it. Thank you.
J.P.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I just have a question for our attorney, please. If we vote on, if J.P. Madison's motion succeeds and we are back at the original ordinance and it passes, is there anything to keep us from also tonight passing the piece that J.P. Ussery had, or it can't be considered separately until a new motion is drafted or a new ordinance?
Well, once you, okay. The motion, as I understand it, from J.P. Eva Madison is to strike the hazardous animal language. So I don't think there'd be anything to prevent you from doing that, but then the question would be, that's the language Justice Ussery worked on and added. Why would you strike it and then add it right back? I guess that's where I'm getting confused.
Well, I had a lot of trouble last time voting for his amendment. I loved it. But I had trouble voting for it because I felt like it had been sprung on some people and it hadn't been vetted as thoroughly as the rest of the ordinance, and I felt it would jeopardize the entire ordinance. And it seemed to have done that night. So I don't know that anybody's really gone back and really studied this again, but maybe everybody has. But if we pass the original ordinance tonight to satisfy J.P. Pond, I'd like for us to have the chance to pass the Ussery amendment tonight. But I think I hear you saying we might be able to do that.
May I respond?
Yes.
Any ordinance is essentially amendable at the will of the court at any point in time. I just wouldn't know why you would do it in the same meeting where you pass it as law and then say, I now move to amend what we just passed as law. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it seems rather unusual to me.
My reason is we don't know what the votes are going to be until we vote. Sometimes we don't decide till right before we vote, as I did that night. And I would like for something to pass. Thank you.
Okay, first J.P. Ussery, then J.P. Cochran, J.P. Harbison, and J.P. Bowman.
I'd just like to say the reason that I did what I did was because that's what I can support. I could not support the bill in its original form. And the reason that I felt like part of the reason it failed last time was because people didn't have time to study it. But they've had plenty of time now. And I know a number of people said afterwards, they said, if I would have had more time, we would have passed it that night. And that's my hope tonight. This stuff was put in here not at a whim and not as something that we can either take or not take. I'm very adamant that if it's not in there, I will not vote for it. Thank you.
J.P. Patterson, did you have your hand up? I didn't want to miss you again like I did a while ago. Okay, J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. I'll echo Justice Ussery's statement that we did get this ordinance with his amendments very late in the game. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the same day of the meeting, and I didn't have a chance to go through it, and I voted against it because I didn't have time to vet this ordinance. I've looked at it. I've actually given a few changes to our attorney, and I see that they're in there. I'm full support of 18.1, primarily because it's enforceable. 18.1 without the clauses that have been put in for the potential or hazardous isn't enforceable by our law enforcement. They have nothing to do. They have nothing to enforce it. It's we might as well leave it where it's at if we don't add that in there. So I will support it in its whole form tonight, but nothing less. Thank you.
J.P. Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. I've read through these ordinances and all the proposed changes. I've read other counties and other states' ordinances. And I've had numerous vigorous conversations with people who love animals and support animal protection and so forth. But I have not had one single discussion about this situation where people didn't acknowledge the fact that pet owners have an obligation to not allow their pets to be a destructive or threatening situation. And right now, I don't believe our ordinance covers that. I was in Union County last week and picked up a copy of their ordinance. And it's far less detailed, it's less legalese involved, but it addresses exactly what we're talking about here. It gives law enforcement an opportunity to take matters into their hands when an animal is determined to be a vicious or threatening animal. And we can talk about this all day and continue to talk about little issues here and there. But people, we need something out here to deal with this pet issue, this dangerous dog issue. I live in Springdale, Arkansas. They have a leash law up there. And in my own neighborhood, walking around the neighborhood, have been threatened by a large aggressive dog and retreated to my garage to get a golf club, determined to tee off on that critter if he came at me again. And today, a very devoted animal lover talked about him having a Doberman in his backyard for protection. But he says, my dog is fenced. He does not have access to the road, to the public access. And I think we have to recognize that people out here using public right-of-ways have a right not to be threatened. We got a very interesting email from one of our constituents yesterday about the rights of individuals to have pets. And I understand he makes some good points. However, he omitted the fact that we all have a right to be up and down that road without being threatened or challenged. So, guys, I think it's time for us to take action on this thing. The things that Eve was talking about eliminating are things I think are important parts of the whole thing. The emergency clause we could do without, but I think the rest of it, we've got to go ahead and move forward with this thing. Thank you.
Steve wants to make a comment, and then Eva wants to make a comment.
Well, based on what I heard Justice Madison just whisper, I may not need to make my comment.
I'm going to withdraw my motion.
There, I don't need to make my comment.
Who had the second? Okay. So the motion has been withdrawn.
So if I can be recognized at some point.
I'm sorry.
Back on I don't want to step ahead of somebody.
You're next.
Okay.
You're next.
Well, then I would just move to pass 18.1 in its original form.
We still have to, we're thrown back on first reading because,
But it's emergency.
right. Oh, I see what you're saying. You didn't, my mistake. You're
She left
correct.
it on there.
Okay, so we'll vote on it in its original form.
Okay, so now.
there a second?
We have a motion and a second to vote on the original form? Okay, now, okay, now let's, I've got J.P. Maxwell.
I'll just speak on three fronts. One is every constituent that I have that called me from my area, and I'm supposed to represent, every one of them had the same concern, and that was that the hazardous part of this, if a dog was not chained up or fenced up, would pertain to them in some form or fashion. If you interpret it just right, they could be considered a possibility of coming out and impeding a bike or whatever. And the way this ordinance is written in its current form, that an owner that has a pet, if they don't have a fence or whatever, they're not going to be allowed to tie their dog up. If they don't have a fence, they're going to be required to pay for the chipping of their dog, build the fence, do a whole lot of things. And it looks to me like, and their perception was this as well, is that instead of managing by exception, we're managing a whole lot of dogs. We have about 45 to 50 dogs that cause us problems in the county, which is it's no small number, but compared to the number of dogs we have in the county, it's a very small fraction. And I totally get it that if you're the person that one dog comes after, or those 50 dogs individually come after, it's a very important and serious issue. But I think the hazardous part of this does two things. One is it puts people who intentionally live in the county and do not want to live under a leash law or whatever, that's why they live in the rural part of the county, and want their animals to roam free, but not the ones that aren't a threat to someone, don't have malicious intent, are the ones I'm speaking to. They're not going to be able to do that to some degree. And secondly, rather than managing by exception, we're managing all these. My concern is that right now, if I understand the Sheriff Department correctly, the majority of our calls to the Sheriff's Department is for animal control. If we do this, we have just given him a whole new job and a whole lot of man hours to manage this many phone calls and this many documentations to go out and decide for just an animal, not that's showing vicious behavior, that's not threatening, that's not menacing, but that just happens to run along beside the road and someone feels like might leap into their path and so they feel threatened. I think we're using a really, really widespread ordinance to cover what needs to be covered. By no means should we leave it uncovered, but I think when we do this, we are opening this up broad spread instead of really addressing the animals that are truly the threat to bikers and joggers, walkers, whatever. And I think that we could handle that in a much more concise way and really get to the heart of the problem without giving the Sheriff's Department a voluminous amount of calls and effort and man hours to be spent on that, nor will we be punishing county residents who live in the county for a reason and don't have a vicious dog. They just have a dog that's being a dog. So with that, if this remains in total portion as it is in 18.1, I will be voting against it just because, A, none of my constituents were in favor of that extreme and broad sweeping, and then my concerns to the Sheriff Department of overloading his workload. Thank you.
Thank you. J.P. Harbison.
Basically, I'm not satisfied with the ordinance in its present form. It does not protect livestock. I have had 2 calls this week of calves, small cows, heifers being killed by packs of dogs. And I don't think this, I think, I'm going to go back to what Mr. Bowman said. I think all people should be responsible for their animals. And if they cause damage, then they need to pay for those damages, whether it's a biker or whether it's a cow that's killed. Now, I've talked extensively this afternoon with Angela and Lori about this, and it comes down to evidence, sufficient evidence to prosecute. Basically, it comes down, this ordinance is just a piece of paper. If the sheriff doesn't write tickets, it doesn't mean anything. So basically, it comes down to what the sheriff's department is willing to do. What kind of evidence with modern technology that's not expensive can we protect our farmers, our small livestock owners from packs of dogs? Well, I know there's a state law that you can shoot them. But, you know, people are not going to be out there, and then when you are out there and they are attacking, you don't have a gun. I mean, that's happened with me when I had a pack of dogs after a calf. Well, I just ran up to the dogs and waved my arms, and they took off. And the calf ran back to the herd. But someone said, well, what if they turned and attacked on you? I said, well, I don't know. I'd run for a tree, I guess. I don't know. But this ordinance doesn't protect our farmers. And it doesn't, I think it's just a bunch of words. Basically, we came up with a confinement ordinance, and I wanted an exemption for farm dogs because county roads run between the house and their pastures. You know, those dogs protect the animals, they protect their owners, they are work animals. And I don't want to do a leash law. But I think we need to put, we can't do it tonight. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to go on and vote for this tonight or not, because I'm definitely going to come back with some amendments to this for something to make it work. I think we're focusing on hikers and bikers. I think we have some other issues that it needs to focus on too. I really don't see anything in this ordinance any different than what we already have. There's really, when you take all the verbiage and you look at, take and compare the ordinance that we have, there's not any difference. The sheriff's department has the ability to write tickets and pick up dogs that attack people. They have a right to, you know, if we need to enforce the ordinances in the county, we need some information from them of what needs to be done so they can pick these dogs up and get them out of the neighborhoods. And these people that are hoarding dogs, it's a problem out in the county. I haven't made up my mind whether I'm voting for this tonight or not. Thank you.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. One of the things that I noticed in page 73, we have, right in the middle of the page where it says potentially dangerous animal, item A uses the word human, and just above it in hazardous animal, we have A, chases, approaches a person. So we have human and person in different places, and I wonder if it would be better if we, and I'm asking Attorney Zega, if the human on A, and C should be better read as person.
Yeah, I think it needs to be, I just think for consistency it does.
Okay.
I also found another not correction. You pointed that to me last time, Justice Cochran,
Okay.
but we took out the vending machine language. We meant to take out the vending machine language that still appears in 2722B.
Okay. Well, I would move that where we have the word human in various parts on page 73, be changed to person, and to also remove vending machine language.
And that, if Justice Madison, who's the original movement, will accept those as friendlies, that won't require a vote necessarily.
I will, and I will also, on page 75, I think it should be all language after an inanimate object should be struck. I don't think it's just the vending machine, it should be all of it. If that's okay with the second. Who was the second? Was it J.P. Dennis? Oh, okay. Fine.
Thank you,
So
Judge.
we didn't need a motion on that, but
No,
that's
it's
just
a friendly
just a friendly amendment. Okay. J.P. Ussery.
I have a couple of comments, but I'll start with a couple of changes. I would I'd like to, let's see, it'd be on page 8 of the ordinance. On number, on B1, I'd like to remove the section that says that we require insurance, because I just don't see how we can do that. And so I'd like to make an amendment that we get rid of that whole section.
Strike one.
That we just strike B-1 on the insurance, because again, I just, from what little research I've done, I just don't think it's practical at all in more ways than one. And then the second thing is that on page 73A, it says potentially dangerous animals, but it says right there, inflicts bites on a human or a domestic animal. And that's where and your domestic animals would come in right there. So if they have an issue with the domestic animal, then that's something that this would address along with everything else. And then to go back to the question that was asked earlier about overloading the sheriff's department, they were involved in us drafting this. And they said, give us some things that will help us not to be overloaded. And in connection with that, in conjunction with that rather, they also said that there'll be additional training on their part to make sure that they knew what to do. And as far as identifying which animals they are, many of the bikers wear cameras now. And so the camera records everything. And so if you've got a camera, you can't get any better than that. And then the very last thing I'd like to say, again, this was drafted was to protect as much as we could the people in the country. Where we put in the part, the whole reason we put in the part about the hazardous animals was so that wherever they came, they could deem that animal a hazardous animal, and they wouldn't have to put that animal down, and it wouldn't have to be put away or anything else. Wouldn't have to be hauled off, because if we remove that portion of it, well, then they're going to have no choice when they come. Their hands will be tied, and so we're trying to give them as much latitude as we can. And so that was kind of what precipitated all this, so thank you.
J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you, Judge. Maybe perhaps then I don't quite understand, like Section A on page 73. I understand that if an animal is menacing or causing a threat or whatever, or has been a threat, then I understand that. But it looks here that it says chases or approaches a person without menacing or without an apparent attitude or attack. So it seems to me like we're upping the ante, that these animals, just being animals, if they approach without menacing or without an apparent attitude of attack, then the outcome of this, the way this ordinance is written, is that then that owner has to make a decision. Number one, he's going to have to pay for chipping. So his dog's done nothing or his animal's done nothing but be an animal, not menaced and not had an attack attitude, is going to have to pay for that. And then secondly, he's going to have to make a decision. He's going to either have to lock that animal up. He can't tie it up. He's going to have to build the fence if he doesn't have one. He's going to have to lock that animal up. Or the next time somebody comes out, then it would move up the ladder to a potentially dangerous animal. So I think, again, my whole concern with this is that we are actually broadening the net to the point where any animal being an animal is, as long as they're meeting criteria in Part A there, which applies, I think, to a lot of them, we're already starting the process for them. We're incurring costs to the animal owner with a dog that's done nothing threatening, and we're putting that dog on the process where it's then a very easy step to put them in the potentially dangerous animal and when they actually haven't been dangerous. Thank you, Judge.
J.P. Bowman?
Thank you, Judge. You know, I'm completely sympathetic with the J.P. Maxwell and Harbison's comments about farm animals. You know, I guess at this point, I don't have a solution for farm animal issues because they definitely make a good point. There are issues like that that are very difficult to deal with. But you know, the thing I think we're dealing with here is that if I've got a Doberman out there, or I've got a pit bull out there that I call my farm animal, or if I've got a collie out there, the temperaments are quite different. And I may call that a farm animal, but it's going to be something that's menacing, and it's hard it's hard to differentiate. You know, I was raised with collies and dogs of that type, that they're not a problem. They're very friendly, and they're very approachable, and they will approach people. And I understand that's a difficult situation. But at this point, it feels to me like we've got a bigger problem than trying to differentiate between these farm animals out here in that situation. When we have people getting their legs ripped apart or having to go to the doctor for treatment, we need to do something. And I don't know what the solutions are to these comments. They definitely they've got an issue, and I understand that. But how do we separate those animals from those other animals out there that we're having to deal with the attacks? And I haven't heard a solution proposed. We recognize the problem, but we need to hear solutions. Thank you.
J.P. Harbison?
Well, talking with our animal control officer, Lori Hodges, today, she said, you know, the policies and rules of the sheriff's department are if something's chasing a bike, they go out and they give a warning. And then, you know, if it chases a bike and someone calls in again, then they get a ticket. Now, if we have a vicious animal out there, I think it needs to be immediately picked up, and I think the owner needs to get an immediate ticket. You know, and those are policies and rules within the sheriff's department. We have no control over those. So I don't know, you know, I think, you know, J.P. Usry met with the sheriff's department trying to work out what would be best for them. You know, I don't see a solution to this. I mean, this ordinance is really not going to solve anything. I think what we've got on the books right now is about as good as we can do. I really do. And that's vicious dogs. Vicious dogs will be picked up and quarantined, and if they have to be, they will be euthanized. That's my opinion. Thank you.
J.P. Pond.
But it's been touched on several times, and I believe it's been made very clear that what this ordinance does is assist the sheriff's deputies in doing their job, maybe doing their job a little better. It's not a fix-all, it's not a cure-all. And I don't want to talk directly at anybody on the court because it's against Robert's rules, I expect. We have people on here that don't like me looking at them. But I'm a farmer. I am a farmer. Have farm liability, have several animals on my farm, and if they get off of that farm and do damage, it's covered by that liability. This ordinance is probably not gonna help me anyway at all. It's not gonna help any farmer. But if we've got some people on the court that are concerned about making some kind of ordinance that's gonna help farmers, I'll be glad to look at it, but I'll tell you, about the only thing that takes care of farms and farm animals is farmers. We've worked on this, and I say this has all been discussed and considered and looked at, and I believe, according to the sheriff's department, we've made some improvements in something that we already had. Maybe it's a little better than what it was. I believe we just need to vote on this, and if somebody comes up with some solutions that are going to make this Washington County rural area a little closer to being like heaven, we'll look at it. I appreciate it.
Steve needs to say something.
No, I needed to ask a
before we
question.
continue.
If Justice Usry's suggestion to strike the insurance language was ever, okay, make sure.
JP.
Thank you, Madam Judge. If I may ask, either Justice Maxwell or Usry, removing the language in the ordinance that gives a perception that if you're a county person with an animal, you have to put up a fence. And I know that several people have called me saying, why should I put up a fence in my yard when I never had one? And my dog stays within our property. But under this, a lot of people's perception is, if this passes, then I have to put up a fence. I have, go ahead. I defer to Justice Maxwell, please.
J.B. Maxwell.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, I cut you off there, but B says a hazardous animal shall be, from their declaration by law, restricted to an owner's property. They'll be responsible for how to restrict it. It's got to be humane, but it can't be tied to an inanimate object. Logically, you only have one choice: build a fence. If you don't have one already, that'd be the only way to detain your animal without tying it to an inanimate object. I guess unless you brought it inside, same thing. It might be an outside dog, but you're restricted logically to having to take an animal who's not vicious and build a fence for it.
And my further point to that is there any way we can strike that language that gives a perception that if you are an animal owner out in the county, you have to build a fence? Just a suggestion. Thank you, Madam Judge.
Let me recognize Angela for just a second, please, and thank you very much.
I just wanted to point out there are trolley systems that you can buy. It is not a fence. It is not tethering the dog to an object. The dog can run the distance of the trolley, allowing the dog not to get off of its property but still have adequate room to move. So that, for what it's worth, that is available for anybody who wants to purchase that.
What's the estimated cost for that?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I don't think that it's that expensive. It's certainly not as expensive as a fence.
So then you have to put up two poles, either put 2 poles in that will contain the dog, or 2 trees, and if you don't have trees out in your farmland,
You put your poles in.
you put your poles in.
But it's a
So
lot
then now
cheaper than
you
a
have to, yes, but you're still imposing a cost on our county citizens that this doesn't, they're the majority that have good pets, and yet because of the exception, they're being penalized. So I think that's one thing that we do need to consider in this language and making it definite. Do you have to build one or a trolley system, and do they have to be restrained? All animals out in the county now have to be restrained. I mean, we need to make that clear before we vote on this. I mean, that's why I see it. So thank you, Madam Judge.
Thank you, Angela, yes.
Thank you, Angela.
Okay, now I've got J.P. Usry, and then I've got J.P. McHenry. Okay, J.P. Cochran. Okay, J.P. Usry?
Okay, just a couple of things here. This language was put in here because we have bicycles that are going by, and people that do not control their pets, and they run out in the street, and they knock those bikes over, and we have people injured on a regular basis. And they'll be happy to tell you that. And we're trying to figure out a way to protect those. We're also trying to figure out a way to protect the farmers so that when somebody complains, they come out. We're trying to give the sheriff's office something so they don't have to declare the animal to be a vicious animal, but they can. This is to communicate with, because there are a lot of people out there, the animals in question, the people that we're talking about, the exceptions that you're talking about, we need a way to educate those. And this is the only way that we can see to educate them, because a lot of times they're not aware of it. According to the sheriff, 80% of the time when he comes out and talks to them, the issue goes away. These are only for the people that have dogs that are out of control. Occasionally, somebody's dog may get out, may run out in the street or something, but again, many other people are not going to be affected by this. If you've got a dog that's under control, I can tell you, I'm a runner, and I've run in the country a lot, and there are many dogs that will run right to the edge of their property and they'll stop. And I go on the other side of the street and there's no problem, because they know where the property is. And so this is not This is not we're not trying to tell everybody out there what to do, but we're saying these are what the expectations are and these are what the rules are. And we've got to do something to protect as more and more people go into the country. So if you have a better way to do it or you have better wording, I'm more than open to that. Thank you.
J.P. Henry.
Thank you, Judge. A concern that I've had with the new hazardous animal definition it goes to what J.P. Maxwell said earlier. It almost feels like we're penalizing a dog for being a dog. Because even given your example, J.P. Ussery, if you run by and you're on public property and the dog comes to the edge of the property, I can feel reasonable fear or apprehension. So at that point in time, I could declare that this dog is causing a hazard. Now, again, I go to J.P. Harbison's comment that this is something that the Sheriff's Department is going to have to determine. So in all likelihood, they would not declare that dog hazardous, but the potential is there. Here's a couple of things that I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see on page 73, under hazardous animal, I'd like to see A stricken, the entire section A stricken, because I think that raises the bar for what it takes to be a hazardous dog. And as I read A and B, I don't see a whole lot of difference there as far as what's going to be a hazardous dog. The other problem that I have under the potentially dangerous animal section is under section A there, we allow for it to inflict a bite on a human, and I'm not comfortable with that, actually. I'd like to see any dog that inflicts a bite on a human be immediately a dangerous dog as opposed to a potentially dangerous dog. So those are two areas that I've had some concerns with since reading this. I want to see something passed. I do want to see something done. I don't think any of us, understand enough about what potentially could happen out there to give the perfect law at this point in time. But at the same time, if we pass something, we'll have the opportunity to go back and amend it as we see it into practice. As we see this law put into place, we'll be able to go back and amend those things that are problematic based on reports from the Sheriff's Department. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Well, I think we still have somebody from the Sheriff's Department. Come on down for a moment here.
Serving.
Yeah. Thank you. In your estimation, under the hazardous animal on page 73, it reads, "An animal, regardless of breed, when unprovoked, chases, approaches a person without menacing or without apparent attitude of attack upon the street, sidewalks, any public grounds, or otherwise off the owner's property in such a way so as to place a person in reasonable fear or apprehension of physical injury." That is the section that I think several people have a little problem with. So in practical application, since our ordinance is going to be complaint-driven, meaning the person's going to have to call you and say, "Come out here, I've got a problem with this dog," how are you going to establish, since it's going to be a he says, she says kind of a thing, it's the complainant and your observation of this animal, how are you going to resolve that this dog is just super friendly or particularly could pose menacing to the individual? How are we going to do that? I think that really is the crux of the problem with the hazardous animal, and knowing how you guys can deal with it is going to help us all decide it's good or not good.
Well, that will be a tough decision. I mean, as far as taking both statements from both sides, seeing how the animal is acting and what it's supposedly done, and if there's any evidence at all. But most of them kind of deals, you take statements from both sides and end up turning it over to the prosecutor because you really don't have any facts if nothing's happened. That's the bad situation you get into.
Right. So essentially, if you deem that the dog could reasonably have manifest those fears on that person, then you would pursue it as, sending it to the prosecutor.
Yes, if you had some kind of evidence.
So if it was this little yappy little dog that just, was a nuisance, couldn't do much more than wet your foot, in that case, it would be just kind of, no, this isn't going to.
Right, it'd be hard to believe that he could.
Right, Lassie isn't going to be scary, but a Doberman or a, other breed may be a problem where you can reasonably see.
Yes, and the condition of the dog, how it's acting. I mean, how is it when we get there? I mean, just as far as if you can find anything at all, any kind of evidence, because it's you say you're going to have two opposite stories usually.
True. There's always two sides to each truth. Given what we have now and what we're proposing to do, which would you rather see?
I may have to let the sheriff answer that. I'm mainly on the jail side. I have had 10 years of patrol and have been out there, but it's been a day or two. So
you've got a couple days on the beat, and I understand. You realize what the situations are going to be when you get out with this ordinance, and you're the expert here for us. Are we better off with this new version, or would we be better off to just stay where we're at?
I say that's a really tough decision there. That's almost a sheriff decision, as far as at this point. I mean, make sure that he's fully aware and how he really thinks. I hate to be that way, but I'd sure like to.
That's a fair answer.
I need to do that really.
That's a fair answer. I appreciate that.
Let me intercede here.
Certainly.
J.P. Lundstrom spoke to the sheriff about this very thing. Do you guys mind if I recognize him?
Go ahead.
To give you
I yield.
Yes.
I had a long conversation with the sheriff about this the other day. What he appreciates about the ordinance is having an ordinance whereby they can actually either cite somebody for an actual dangerous dog where somebody has been bitten. Like you said, this is going to be a complaint-driven ordinance. Somebody has to be, if a dog just runs out the edge of the property and scares a biker, I don't like the idea of one of our sheriff's deputies having to drive 20 miles out there and back to even look into that situation under that that dog that's not menacing or threatening. Why do we have officers even going out there because some bikers had it run out there barking at him? But the sheriff did appreciate the parts of this ordinance that gives them the authority to go out there and take a dog into custody if they have to, euthanize a dog if it has to be done, confine a dog if it has to be done. Those are the things he told me he appreciated about it. There's other things, like these little calls, that he doesn't appreciate all that much, because we have more important work for our deputies to be doing than chasing after barking dogs. But that was what the sheriff said about the ordinance the other day.
Okay, I have Ussery, Harbison, and Madison.
And just in response to what you just said, Tom, where the sheriff said that there would be education with the 911 people, he requested that they actually call 911 because he said it's only going to take about 30 seconds. And then they will be identified. And he's also, of course, given those guys the freedom to address if something else more important comes in. Obviously, put those guys on hold. But those guys will be trained to ask the right questions to weed out most of the things that we're talking about here, as far as if the dog runs out to the street and he's 20 miles out in the country, it makes no sense to send somebody out there and just go like this to the person. And to go back to what we were talking about earlier about if the dog runs to the edge of the property and stops, then this doesn't even apply to those guys. And as long as they go to that property line, they stop. It's when they run out into the street. It's when they're on the public right-of-way. That's when this would take effect. If they don't go into the street, then there's no problem. And that's why, again, this is aimed at educating. We're trying as hard as we can to attack the issue and let everybody else lie. We're actually trying to manage by exception by doing this. If that makes any sense, it probably doesn't. But we're trying to have them go after the problem areas, and everybody else can do what they want to do. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. That's a large thing to ask, and I understand that. But I just thought I'd point those two things out. Thank you.
J.P. Harbison.
But when I think of a hazardous dog, I don't think of a vicious dog. I think of a friendly dog that's running out there. He runs in front of the biker and he causes the biker to wreck. And that seems to be more prevalent than anything that happens. And, you know, I just think the owner needs to be responsible for the accident. He needs to be responsible for the medical expenses. He needs to be responsible for the damage done to the bike. Some of these bikes cost $3,000. If we could start and give some tickets for some things like that, and I don't think we have the language here to do that, but that, to me, is a hazardous dog. He can cause you to have a really bad accident. He's not vicious. He just, you know, likes to chase bikes and probably cars too. And we've got all these rules practically that identifies him as a vicious dog or a potentially vicious dog. I just think this really needs more work. Thank you.
Let me make you aware, according to Robert's rules, each person should only be recognized twice. And I think we've gone around the window here at least 10 times. Well, I've got J.P. mad, but I will put you down, Gary.
I just wanted to respond to some of the questions that have been made. I saw Mr. Roberts kind of react like, I don't know that it does us a lot of good to say that the owner will be financially responsible for, like, hurting someone and knocking them off a bike and putting them off work for a year. They are already responsible under tort law, but that's assuming that the person has the assets to pay for that. The constituent in my district that talked to me about the accident he had that was caused by a dog, he was out of work for a lengthy period of time, had to undergo surgery, and has actually been too afraid to go back out and ride now. He can't get that. He can't. J.P. Harbison is right that under the law, the owner should be responsible, but our goal here is prevention. Let's not have them ever get hurt, and that should be what we're trying to do. And I hope that's our goal, is that, you know, Mr. Holt, it's good for him if he can be compensated for his scarred leg, but he should have never had a scarred leg in the first place. I'll also say that I think we're losing sight. We talk a lot about what county employees want, and this does have the support of the sheriff's office. I know we put Major Denzer on the spot, but if you remember when Captain McClellan was here talking about what's the difference between this and the current ordinance, he said due process. This gives county citizens due process that they currently don't have. If your dog is declared vicious by the sheriff, that's it, you're stuck. This actually provides a means for appeal to the county judge and then to circuit court. That's meaningful. That's important change, and that was something that Captain McClellan felt was worth pointing out. I also think our folks at the animal shelter think this is a welcome change. And so we're losing sight of the fact that the people who deal with these issues on a day-to-day basis like these changes. The sheriff's office doesn't want to have 100% discretion. They actually like the confinement of doing this. Now, they do have discretion still, and we appreciate that our sheriff's office exercises good discretion. But they don't, too much can be hard. Too much latitude is hard. And so locking it down a little bit, I think, is very helpful to them. But to address some of the specific issues, I agree that the hazardous animal section A is broad. I agree with that. But it also, like J.P. Ussery said, requires the animal to be off the owner's property, first of all. And second, it requires to place a person in a reasonable apprehension or fear of physical injury. Reasonable will be determined by our law enforcement and our judiciary branches, who will come in and say, it wasn't reasonable that you thought a Yorkie was going to knock you off your bike. It was reasonable for you to be afraid of that pit bull running out into your bike. We have to remember that and give our law enforcement credit for being out there saying, that's reasonable, that's not. Or there's no proof this animal was in the street, or this animal was in the street. With respect to J.P. McHenry's comment about the bites, the goal there was, I think we've all maybe like been nipped by a dog. It happens, my own dog, when he's hungry sometimes. I'm not hurt, but am I technically bitten? Yes. I don't think that dog should be classified as a dangerous animal. If you advance to the serious bites, if you read what that means, you're talking then a puncture wound of more than a superficial nature. So I think we have to give dogs, it's not a free bite, it's a free, very superficial bite. And I don't think we want to put that all the way in the category of dangerous. So I welcome changes to this. I want people to amend this and make it better. And I know people have concerns, but we've been studying this for a really, really long time so far. People have been coming to meeting after meeting after meeting, and nobody's really proposed much in the way of changes. So if you don't like it, make an amendment tonight and let's fix it. But if you don't have a solution, let's just vote and get it over with and let these people go on. I just think we've been at this too long. If it's not perfect, then fix it or just vote on it. And I'd like to call the question, but I don't want to cut off J.P. McHenry, so.
Okay, I've got J.P. Maxwell, and then I got J.P. McHenry, and those are the last two I'm going to recognize, so we're going to need to do something, whatever it is.
Thank you, Judge. A couple of things here. One is my concern is on the reasonable fear, is that's going to require one of our law officers to go out, and even if someone is unreasonable, it's going to take time and man hours and effort to do that. And if I heard Justice Lundstrom correctly, and I totally agree with this, I think the sheriff's office is very much in favor of us having some, probably shouldn't use the word teeth to put into this, but something that when they do encounter a dangerous animal or a potentially dangerous animal that has shown intent or shown action that is negative, that they then have the tools to enforce something and have a really good guideline. And I think parts of this do a fantastic job of that. I'm 100% for it. What the concern is for the dogs who haven't done anything but be a dog. And that my fear is that when we get into that, then I can call 27 times and say I had a reasonable fear. They may come out and overrule me every time, but it's going to take a law enforcement officer or it's going to take a judicial proceeding or whatever. That's a lot of time, money, effort that I think could be better spent on some other things. Ultimately, I think our goal here is to prevent any dog from becoming a dangerous animal or a potentially dangerous animal. And the way I see this, there's really only one way to have any attempt at doing that. We have to make the consequences for the owner, if he possesses an animal that does that, egregious enough that he polices himself. There is no way in the world for any of us to police all of these dogs or all these owners, whatever. The only way for this to be effective, to truly prevent. I'm not talking about give the sheriff tools to actually enforce if some dog does something wrong. But the only way for this to be effective at preventing is to put the onus on the owners so that if they have a vicious dog, if I had a vicious dog and the penalties were stiff, I would keep it in a fence myself before this ordinance ever came around. If I knew that if my dog attacked someone, became a serious offender or even a mild offender into this, I would police myself because I don't want that liability and I don't want to lose my dog. I don't want all that kind of stuff. I think that's the only way to truly stop this is by preventing it. And then the last thing I want to say is my fear is I know what our intent is with this. And I know that we have intentions of training folks. We have intentions of giving the sheriff's office a lot of discretion. We have intentions of doing a lot of things. But whatever we pass will be the law. And whatever we intend will not be considered necessarily. If we hope for a lot of training so that people make good judgments or whatever, that's fantastic. But once the ordinance is passed, the intent doesn't matter anymore. What's written in the law will matter, and I think we have to be really careful. I understand the intent of the hazardous animal piece. I understand that if there's an intent here to give a second layer there so you don't go completely to potentially dangerous or dangerous. If we struck Section A, then a dog actually has to do something wrong before we spend the time, we punish the owner, and we do something to the dog. Under Section A, the dog just has to be a dog. And then we're going to spend the time, the money, and the effort. So I think we have to be really careful and make sure what we intend to do and what we actually do line up. Thank you, Judge.
J.P. McHenry.
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to strike A under hazardous animal.
Second.
Well, Judge, if I may.
Yes, please.
If it's friendly, it doesn't require a second. That depends on Justice Madison in the second accepting it that way.
I'd like to ask JP Ussery's opinion. He's the author of that part, and he's a co-sponsor of the ordinance, so if I may, Judge.
Yes, go ahead.
The second's good with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, but I mean, I think we got to move forward.
I think we have to move forward if that's what it takes. I think that B covers it well enough. I would like for it to be, and I understand what you're saying exactly, but if that's what it takes to get this passed, we'll certainly agree to that.
Okay. Friendly amendment accepted.
Okay. So are we ready to call for the question on this now?
I would like to make sure before we do that, Judge, that I understand and that I've got the amendment as stated just now simply strikes Section A from the definition of hazardous animal, and because there's no A, there won't be a B.
Right.
So it will now read hazardous animals, regardless of breed, that when unprovoked obstructs, impedes, hinders, or interferes with a person's right-of-way on any public street, sidewalk, or public grounds. And I think, other than the Scrivener's stuff that we discussed, changing human to person and taking the vending machine clause out, that's what you're now voting on with the emergency clause.
Is everyone, yes, J.P. Cochran?
I have a question. When it says public grounds, would that be if the dog came onto my property and obstructed me there? How would that fare?
No.
No, it's only public.
Well, that basically means that if my neighbor's dog comes over and bugs me, gets in my way.
This ordinance won't cover that.
Won't cover that.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we ready for a vote? Okay, Karen?
I want to be sure also, are you going, sorry, I want to be sure also on page 78, under B1, where are you striking the $50,000 liability? That
didn't pass.
Okay.
You can't
that
vote yet.
stays
You have to have
in.
public comment.
Okay.
Did you make it an ordinance, Bill? Did you make it a friendly amendment for an ordinance?
Well, I asked for that, but there wasn't a second.
I didn't know you had asked for that, because I would second it.
I did not make that clear.
Help me here. I don't know exactly
Well,
what we need to.
I haven't heard the magic words yet, Judge.
Judge?
Yes.
Okay.
J.P. Lloyd.
I'd like to make a motion that we strike 1 on page 78, under B, number 1, because we had a homeowner step forward and speak that you wouldn't be able to get insurance. And so that, and I mean, my husband's retired insurance, and he told me also you wouldn't be able to get that. And so the animal would have to be, they'd have to lose their animal. So I make a motion that we strike that, all of 1.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Thank you, Judge. I had a tenant who had a pit bull, and before I allowed them to have the pit bull, I required them to get insurance. They got it through State Farm, and I called State Farm and made sure that they were paying the premiums, and they were.
Exactly, but once it's labeled a dangerous animal, you cannot. That's what that says.
If you saw what that dog did to that house, it was very dangerous.
But it wasn't labeled, JP.
Perhaps so, but there
Okay,
was
so now
insurance.
let's go back. So you have made a motion to remove 1.
Yes.
We had a second on that. So any other discussion? J.P. Madison?
I just want you to realize you're making there be very little difference between potentially dangerous and dangerous. We're just basically lumping them all into one category. So if we're talking about being harsh on our citizens.
But if you can't get insurance, you lose your dog.
Are we ready to take a roll call vote on this motion to move this? Carney, call the roll, please.
Just to be clear, we're voting on.
Section Bravo 1 from page
That's
78.
it. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay. All righty. Eva Madison?
No.
Sue Madison?
No.
Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry? No. Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Joe Patterson didn't vote.
Wait, Joe didn't vote.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
No.
Robert Dennis? Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Abstain.
It didn't pass, did it?
I count 7 to 7, or seven yeas, 5 nays, and 2 abstentions.
Didn't pass.
And by that vote, the motion fails.
Okay. So now, are we ready to go back to the original ordinance that we've got in front of us?
You have that public comment, Judge.
Okay. I've listened to all the JPs several times, so now I'm going to ask for public comments if anyone has a comment they'd like to come forward and speak.
Do we get to talk twice?
No, you don't get to talk twice. Please identify yourself. We know you, but do it anyway.
Okay, thank you. My name is Paxton Roberts. I live here in Fayetteville. I'm the executive director of the Bicycle Coalition of the Ozarks. Just a few things. I think this is really important. We're now 3 months after Richard Holt's unfortunate accident. You know, it's the season. There is lots of people out using the roads. This isn't, you know, I hear this about a dog just being a dog, but if a dog runs out and I'm traveling down the road, I feel like I have a right to be safe when I travel down a roadway. And when a dog runs out in front of me on my bike, it's hazardous. It's dangerous to me. And that's not just being a dog. And, you know, I think just today before I was coming up here, there's a video popped up on Facebook of a motorcycle hitting a dog and the guy flipping off the motorcycle and crashing. So this isn't just about bicycles, it's motorcycles too. It was about the size of a border collie that he hit. So, you know, I think I understand. I grew up out in the country. We're not asking for people to have to chain up their dogs, just asking for them to keep them under control so they don't present a hazard when they're off their private property. And if they keep them on private property, however they do so, then the hazard's prevented. There is no danger there. And I think that's what this does. You know, I myself was here a month ago when the sheriff sat in this chair and said he supported this ordinance. I'm sure it's on camera. I know I was in the room with him when this ordinance was revised, and he was sitting right next to me. So I hear a lot of this discussion about what's going on. And it's just frustrating for me at this point because it's 3 months, and I feel like this ordinance has been out there for a whole month. I have a petition right here that we cited. I think last time there was 100 signatures, 109 signatures came in. Change.org, 260 signatures supporting the ordinance as written. I went through and counted. I believe 235 of those are in Washington County. We had people from outside the county signing the petition online because they cared about this issue. So I think that, you know, we do have some support. I think that there's some key points here. Off public property, we're not talking about on. Reasonable fear or apprehension of physical injury, that is in that injury part. If a dog runs out, I have a reasonable fear that I'm going to get wrecked. People's lives have been altered permanently. Pins in their necks, broken bones. Some people can't ride a bike anymore because a dog runs out. I implore you to do something to protect us. And if this isn't it, then what is it? That's what I'm asking. And it could be my daughter riding her bike. You know, it could be a 12-year-old out there. And I think you all need to keep that in mind. I beg you to keep that in mind. You know, and what is the consequence for it? If you are hazardous, it's just restricted to your property. However you should do it, whether it's a line, whether it's an electronic fence, whether it's a fence, that's in your option. If it never comes off, there's never an issue. And I just, please, either amend this and keep the protection in there for people using the road, those vulnerable road users. They should be able to travel those streets, those dirt roads, and pretty soon trails. We're going to have paved, shared use paved trails going through the country. So this isn't just about roadways. This is a 12-foot wide shared use path that you're going to have kids, you're going to have people riding on bikes, you're going to have walkers, runners that are going to face these problems.
Your time is up, but thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Any other comments from the public?
My name's Terry Davis Beaupre. I live in Weddington Woods County. I'm not sure where you represent, but one of the reasons why I moved out to the county was so that I could breathe non-city air. And we have packs of dogs roaming in that subdivision, and you can't walk out there. I don't know about riding a bike. I don't ride a bike. We have neighbors that have their dogs run out into the roads, and they bite people that are walking. And the comments that you guys are having about the big dogs, small dogs bite people much more frequently than big dogs do. I've only ever been bitten by a small dog. So I kind of hear what you're saying when you talk about people move out to the country because they want their dogs to be able to roam and, do whatever, be a dog. But those are just bad, irresponsible dog owners. Responsible dog owners take care of their dogs. Don't let them run out into the road so they can get hit by a car or whatever. So I kind of don't buy that. I've got neighbors that have dogs. They have fences in the backyards, but they still let their dogs roam because they want to let them roam instead of putting them in a fence. So I don't agree with that. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think I saw someone else that was, hang on, come on forward, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Barry Vassar. Here again. It's I'm not part of a coalition, but I am a citizen here in Washington County. Basically, I think this whole thing could have been a little bit shortened. It seems like it's been going on a little bit long. Had it not been deemed an emergency ordinance. Now, if it would have been a regular ordinance, there would have been 3 readings on it. It would have allowed several individuals to give you some input onto this, and maybe that would have enlightened you a little bit, maybe made it easier to make a decision. And, so in the future, don't just use emergency just to get it through. That's just a bad deal. I look at this, and there's still quite a bit of definition in here that really isn't declared. Like what happens to somebody does actually provoke a dog on the outside? What happens to that person? Sure, the dog won't get in trouble for it, but the person's going to walk away. Okay, now he's teaching that habit into that dog, and that dog's going to continue and continue. There needs to be something in there about provoking an animal, too. You're only seeing one side of this. There's a lot of burden on restraining a dog. A dog is a dog, like it's been said. Everybody's had a dog. How many people here have had a dog, a puppy, and the kids are playing with it and it knocks them over, or one of the neighbor kids come over and just gets terrified of this poor dog that just wants to be a friend? Now, are you going to deem that dog dangerous? It's, rules are fine, but here you are tightening things up. And this is a community. I agree something needs to be done about dangerous dogs. I agree with that. I agree that everybody needs to be safe in a public area. There's no doubt. But once you start narrowing, defining this, and saying that you're going to come back, whatever parts don't work, that isn't really what I'm hearing. Because I know how much of a burden it is to get this through to begin with. I doubt very much if something isn't working that somebody's going to come back through and change it. And it's just a lot of ordinance at one time. Now, let's say if you wanted to change a piece of it at a time, bring it in. Let's slowly pull this thing in instead of all at one time. Then maybe you can piece it together that way. But as one big ordinance.
Your time is up, sir, but I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
Yes, come forward, sir.
My name is Bart Petre, and I live down in the Winslow area. And we have 3 dogs. One of them is a livestock guard dog, a Great Pyrenees. He's the only one that chases bicycles, and I have tried, and I am still working on finding a solution to stop that. The reason he chases the bicycles, though, is the bicyclers come by, they kick at him, they holler at him, they swat at him, and then he got sprayed with something, pepper spray, mace, something. Now he sees a bicyclist as a threat to the livestock. So with what the gentleman just before me spoke, there is a responsibility of the bicyclers also. person can walk by, he doesn't bother him. But he sees that bicycle as a threat now because it hurt him. And I am worried that one of these days he's going to run out in front of somebody and they're going to wreck because he's big. He's about 100 pounds. But in this particular case, I don't think he'd ever bite anybody, but he may cause a wreck. I don't want that to happen. But I think there is a responsibility on the bicyclers also to behave themselves as well as the dog and the dog owners. So,
Thank you, sir. Okay.
So I'm here just as public. I just want to make 2 points, okay? I'm the director of the animal shelter. Animals are what I live for, okay? And with all due respect to everybody, my point number 1, dogs can be dogs, but they can still behave, okay? End of discussion. My dog can be a dog, but it can behave itself and it can stay on my property. And 2, dogs are not going to be punished as long as they stay on their property. We're not talking about somebody coming onto my property and my dog reacting and taking care of my home and the dog being punished. We're talking about my dog going into the street and causing harm or some kind of danger to somebody. It's my responsibility as a owner of a pet to keep that pet on my property. And that, those are my opinions, but I think that's what we can't lose sight of. If a dog is in a road, that's a problem. It doesn't matter whether it's a friendly dog or an unfriendly dog. If it's in the road, it's a problem. And the point is, it needs to stay in its own yard, and it needs to behave itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, very much. I appreciate you sticking around because it's been a long night. So I think that's all the comments we have. I guess we are ready to vote on the ordinance as is. Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Yes.
Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Joe Patterson?
Yes.
Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran?
No.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
No.
Sharon Lloyd?
No.
Tom Lundstrom?
Abstain.
Passed, Dennis.
10 votes yes, 3 votes no, 1 present. The ordinance passed.
Okay, it just passed. Okay, so we've got 3 more things on the agenda. It looks like things that will go fairly fast. So we will we'll just stay with me and let's get on with this. The next thing we have is number 19, emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional permit grant. Butch.
Yes, ma'am. Steve.
An emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Board granted a conditional use permit on April 7th for Haberton Wedding Chapel, and whereas immediate ratification is necessary by the Quorum Court to prevent undue delay and expense to the applicant, and whereas ratification will not affect any appeal rights any person may have, now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1, that the conditional use permit for Haberton Wedding Chapel granted by the Planning and Zoning Board is hereby ratified. Article 2, Emergency Clause. It is hereby determined that it is in the public's best interest for this ordinance to become effective immediately, and the general health, safety, and welfare of the citizens are affected by such for the reasons as set out above. Therefore, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be and is effective from the date of its passage.
This ordinance is fairly a low impact. This development. It's not really a densely populated area where it is. It's just a wedding chapel. Planning Board has approved it. The Goshen Fire Department's approved of it. They've met all their requirements. There was very little protest and none from any of the closest neighbors that I know of. Basically, any protest they had was other wedding chapel owners.
Okay.
I cannot see anything wrong. I moved. All right.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go, J.P. Dennis.
Is there any opposition to this from the public?
Other wedding chapel owners?
But no neighbors?
None that I know of.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comment? Carly, would you call the roll?
Eva Madison? Yes. Sue Madison? Yes. Joe Maxwell? Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman? Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis? Lisa Ecke? Yes. Ann Harbison? Yes. Sharon Lloyd? Yes. Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Okay, so this had an emergency clause on it, so this takes 10
10
votes.
to
10
pass.
votes. So did we get 10 votes on that? Did,
Everybody voted yes.
okay. This ordinance is passed then. Next one is number 20. Butch,
Yes, ma'am, and I'd like to read this myself.
you're welcome to.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution supporting the Springdale City Council in their request to name the Springdale Northern Bypass, U.S. Highway 412, the John Tillman Hussey Memorial Highway. Whereas the Springdale Northern Bypass is currently under construction between Highway 412 west of Tawnytown to west of Beaver Lake, and whereas the Springdale City Council has made a request to the Arkansas State Highway and Transportation Department to name the portion of the bypass going through the city of Springdale after Springdale Police Officer John Hussey, and whereas Springdale Officer John Tillman Hussey lost his life on December 21st, 1975 in the line of duty. Now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, that it supports the Springdale City Council's request to the Arkansas State Highway and Transportation Department to name the US 412 bypass the John Tillman Hussey Memorial Highway. And I can't believe, or I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate that the Springdale City Council is making an effort to have this done. Just in honor of, I move to pass.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
She wants to go home.
Do we have any public comments? Carly, call the roll.
Eva Madison? Yes. Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell? Gary McHenry?
Yes.
Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman? Yes. Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison? Yes. Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
This resolution is adopted. Number 21, Robert Dennis and Rick Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Due to the length of this ordinance, I would move that we have the ordinance read by title only.
Second.
Oh, wow.
Say that again?
They want to suspend the rules and let me read it by title only.
Okay. We had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Title only.
An emergency ordinance concerning community sewer systems, Washington County Code 11-99.1.
Just as a summary, basically, the Washington County removed their restrictions or their ordinances for this and relied on the state ordinances. State ordinances were dropped recently. We are reestablished in them. I move to pass 21.1.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public comment?
Vote yes.
Carly, would you call the roll, please? Oh, no, she just said vote yes.
We heard from him last time.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Yes.
Joe Maxwell?
Yes. No. Wait a minute, that's not me.
No. Gary McHenry?
Okay, yes now.
Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls? Harvey Bowman? Rick Cochran? Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison? Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
This ordinance is adopted.
We'd like to thank Renee for her
Are
work
there
on
any
it.
Yes, we'd like to thank
announcements or
Renee,
any other-
Ms. Bybee for all her work on this and bringing it to the court's attention.
Are
Good
there
job, Ms.
any
Bybee.
announcements or other business to come before the court tonight? I hope not. Citizens' comments. Yes, come forward, sir. Identify yourself, please. I know who you are, and tell us anyway.
My name's David Ruff. I work for Washington County Road Department. I was kind of disappointed in the dirt pit deal not passing because I need that dirt because my district is out in southern Washington County. I need this dirt to fix these roads. I cannot put rocks on top of rocks. I've been building roads for 30 years. You cannot put rocks on top of rocks. It causes friction. And then whenever you got friction, what you got is washboard. And then I get complaints, David, go fix the road up there. If I had dirt that this rocks could adhere to, I could fix these roads. I've done this for 30 years. Well, excuse me, 28 years. But that's all I've ever done in my whole life is build roads. And if I could get the dirt, I could fix these roads for these people. I've drove semis on these dirt roads, taking shavings to chicken houses. You take a semi around a curve. If I've got a ditch over here that's 8 foot wide, that don't need to be 8 foot wide, it only needs to be 3 foot wide. I need dirt to fill that up. And if I got a semi, I can't make that turn. And I have several roads out there. I've got 50 miles of roads out there that I maintain myself. And if I have dirt, I could fix these roads. But I would appreciate it if I could get some dirt. I was part of the test. It was a long day. It was a long day. But I could use some dirt.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Any other citizens' comments? Yes, sir.
Again, I'm Bart Petray from Southern Washington County. I had a little written form that I wanted to read off when I got up here, but after listening to all of y'all, it feels to me like the naysayers, it's more of a personal agenda or personal grudge against the dirt pit more than anything else. I mean, the math proves that it's a cost savings to the county. That's a cost savings to me. The roads out on our end of the county are horrible. There's places where the bedrock comes out of the road bed, and you can't grade over that and make it go away without putting some dirt over the top of that. The gravel doesn't stay there because it's a rock, solid rock, bedrock, outcropping. If you don't put some dirt there, the gravel's not going to stay. But I just really get the feeling that it's more of a personal attack on the Paul Reed or Travis Reed, who just happens to be a family member of Paul Reed. And so that's really all I have to say. It just doesn't seem like to me that it's a judicial decision in that area.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor, say aye.